Hey ambitious souls. Meet Dominic Thorne, the billionaire alpha who dominates the boardroom and the supernatural world. At 34, he's built a tech empire worth $8 billion. But his greatest power comes from the wolf prowling beneath his $1,000 suits. Tonight, across a conference table in Manhattan's most exclusive private club, he's about to meet the one thing his money can't buy and his wolf can't resist. Her name is Sophia Chen, and she's about to turn his perfectly controlled world into beautiful chaos. Money can buy anything, except the one woman destined to be his mate. Chapter 1. Dominic Thorne stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office on the 68th floor of Thorne Tower, surveying the Manhattan skyline like a predator surveying his territory. The city glittered beneath him, each light representing power, money, influence, all things that bent to his will. His wolf stirred beneath his skin, restless despite the empire they'd built together. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Thorne, Ms. Chen is here for her interview." Dominic's enhanced hearing had already detected her heartbeat from the moment she stepped off the elevator. Steady, confident, with just the slightest elevation that spoke of excitement rather than fear. Interesting. Most people approached him with their hearts hammering in terror. "Send her in." He turned from the window, his 6'3" frame casting an imposing shadow across the Italian marble floor. The door opened, and Dominic's entire world tilted on its axis. Sophia Chen walked into his office like she owned it. 5'7" in heels that brought her closer to his eye level. She wore a charcoal suit that managed to be both professional and devastating. Her long black hair was pulled into a sleek ponytail that Dominic's wolf immediately wanted to wrap around his fist. But it was her scent that hit him like a freight train. Jasmine and steel, ambition and sweetness, and underneath it all, the unmistakable pull of mate. His wolf surged forward, desperate to claim, to mark, to possess. Dominic locked it down with decades of practiced control, but his hands clenched at his sides. Sophia extended her hand, her dark eyes meeting his without flinching. "Mr. Thorne, thank you for seeing me personally. I know the CFO position doesn't usually warrant the CEO's attention." Her touch sent electricity racing up his arm. She felt it too. He saw her pupils dilate, watched her breath catch for just a fraction of a second before she recovered. But she didn't pull away. She held his hand firmly, professionally, even as the mate bond thrummed between them like a live wire. "Your credentials are exceptional, Ms. Chen." Dominic released her hand before his wolf could make him do something insane like pull her closer. "Stanford MBA, 8 years at Goldman Sachs, and you spearheaded the Turner acquisition that everyone said was impossible. I make it a point to personally interview exceptional candidates." Thorough. Sophia settled into the chair across from his desk with easy confidence. "I appreciate that. Though I have to say, your reputation for being intense precedes you." Dominic's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. In the boardroom, he was known as ruthless, uncompromising, and able to smell weakness from a mile away. In the supernatural world, he was alpha of the Northeast Pack, one of the most powerful werewolf territories in North America. Both reputations were well-earned. Intense gets results. He moved behind his desk, kneading the barrier between them. Her scent was driving him insane. "Tell me, Ms. Chen, why leave a senior vice president position at one of the most prestigious firms on Wall Street to join a tech company?" "Because Goldman Sachs is safe." Sophia leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with ambition that called to something primal in him. "Thorne Industries is revolutionary. You're not just disrupting markets. You're creating entirely new ones. Your AI division alone is worth more than most Fortune 500 companies. I don't want safe. I want to build something that changes the world." Dominic's wolf preened at her words. She understood power, craved it. "Perfect mate," his wolf growled. "Claim her." "Not yet," Dominic thought back firmly. Maybe never. The last thing his carefully balanced life needed was a mate who would demand attention he couldn't afford to give. His pack was in the middle of delicate territory negotiations. His company was positioning for the biggest acquisition in tech history. And now the universe decided to throw his destined mate into his office, wearing a suit that hugged every curve. "The position reports directly to me," Dominic said, his voice rougher than intended. "I expect absolute loyalty, 80-hour weeks, and results that exceed every projection. I don't tolerate failure, excuses, or divided attention. Can you handle that?" Something flickered in Sophia's eyes. Challenge accepted. "I don't fail, Mr. Thorne. and I certainly don't make excuses. But I do have one question before we continue. Ask. Why are you trying so hard to intimidate me? Dominic's eyebrow rose. No one, absolutely no one, called him out like that. Excuse me? The aggressive posturing, the dominant body language, the deliberate invasion of personal space when we shook hands. Sophia's smile was sharp as a blade. You're testing me, trying to see if I'll crack under pressure. So let me save us both some time. I won't. I've faced down hostile boards, aggressive CEOs, and every variety of alpha male personality Wall Street has to offer. You're impressive, Mr. Thorne, but you don't scare me. Dominic's wolf howled with approval. She was perfect, strong enough to stand beside him, fierce enough to match him. The mate bond pulsed between them, demanding recognition. He stood abruptly, unable to sit still any longer. The position requires extensive travel, late nights, constant availability. I don't have a personal life that would interfere. Sophia rose to meet him, refusing to be dominated by his height advantage. No husband, no boyfriend, no obligations beyond my career. Thorne Industries would have my complete focus. The mention of no boyfriend sent satisfaction coursing through him. Mine, his wolf insisted. Ours. The compensation is $12 million annually, plus stock options and performance bonuses. Dominic moved closer, watching her carefully. You'd have unlimited resources to build your department. Complete authority over the financial operations of a $15 billion company. But you answer to me. Only me. I wouldn't have it any other way. Sophia didn't back down, even though he now stood close enough that she had to tilt her head to maintain eye contact. When do I start? Dominic caught her scent again. Jasmine with an underlying heat that made his wolf growl possessively. This was dangerous. Having her near every day, working late nights, traveling together. The mate bond would only grow stronger. Eventually, they'd both break. But he couldn't not hire her. His company needed her brilliance. His wolf needed her closeness. And some part of him that had been alone for too long needed to see what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. Monday, 8 a.m. sharp. He extended his hand again, knowing he shouldn't touch her but unable to resist. Welcome to Thorne Industries, Ms. Chen. Her hand slid into his, and this time neither of them pretended not to feel the spark. Sophia's breath caught, her eyes widening as the mate bond flared to life between them, unmistakable and undeniable. What was that? She whispered. Dominic wanted to tell her, wanted to explain that she was his mate, destined by supernatural forces beyond human understanding, that his wolf had chosen her, recognized her, claimed her on a primal level that had nothing to do with logic or timing. Instead, he released her hand and stepped back. Chemistry, Miss Chen. The dangerous kind. I suggest we both ignore it. Sophia's expression shifted from surprise to determination. I didn't leave Goldman Sachs to play it safe, Mr. Thorne. But I also didn't come here to be anyone's conquest. We keep this professional. Agreed. The lie tasted bitter. There was nothing professional about the way his wolf was currently planning to mark every inch of her skin. See you Monday. Sophia nodded and turned toward the door. She paused at the threshold, looking back at him with a smile that was pure challenge. Oh, and Mr. Thorne? I looked into Thorne Industries very carefully before applying. Every acquisition, every financial decision, every risk you've taken. You have excellent instincts, almost supernatural, some might say. I'm looking forward to learning what makes you so successful. The door closed behind her, leaving Dominic alone with his wolf and the lingering scent of jasmine. She was too perceptive, too intelligent. If anyone could uncover his secret, it would be her. And if she did, it would destroy everything he'd built, his company, his packed security, and any chance of a normal relationship with his mate. His phone buzzed. Marcus, his second-in-command and head of security, had sent a text. Pack meeting tonight. The Silverfang Alpha is making moves on our territory. This could get bloody. Dominic looked out at the city again, his empire spread before him. He'd spent 15 years building Thorne Industries, creating the perfect cover for his pack's activities and generating the wealth needed to protect supernatural interests. He'd been ruthless, focused, and alone by choice. Now Sophia Chen had walked into his life, bringing chaos, desire, and the one thing he'd never allowed himself to want. A true partnership. Monday was going to be very interesting. Chapter 2. Sophia Chen arrived at Thorne Tower at 7:30 Monday morning, a full 30 minutes before the 8 a.m. start time Dominic had specified. She never gave anyone the satisfaction of thinking she couldn't meet their expectations. Besides, she needed time to settle in, to map the office politics and power structures before the day officially began. The 65th floor, now her domain, was a masterpiece of modern luxury. Glass walls overlooked Manhattan, while the interior featured brushed steel, warm wood accents, and technology that probably cost more than most people's houses. Her new office, not quite as grand as Dominic's but impressive nonetheless, had clearly been prepared for her arrival. 3 monitors sat on her custom desk, already displaying real-time financial feeds from markets around the world. A woman in her 50s appeared in the doorway, her silver hair cut in a sharp bob and her suit immaculate. "Ms. Chen, I'm Margaret Reeves, your executive assistant. Coffee is on your desk, black, 2 sugars, based on your Goldman Sachs preferences. Your security credentials have been activated, and I've scheduled your first meeting with Mr. Thorne for 9 a.m. Sophia smiled. "Efficient. Good. Thank you, Margaret. And it's just black. I gave up sugar 2 years ago." Noted. Margaret made the adjustment on her tablet without missing a beat. "Mr. Thorne has requested you review the Meridian acquisition file before your meeting. It's on your secure server, password protected. The code is on the note by your coffee." Sophia settled behind her desk, noting the code was a 15-digit alphanumeric sequence changed daily according to the attached instructions. Paranoid-level security for a tech company, even one dealing with cutting-edge AI. Interesting. She dove into the Meridian file, her mind cataloging numbers, projections, and risk assessments with the speed that had made her a legend at Goldman Sachs. Meridian Technologies was a smaller AI firm with revolutionary quantum computing applications. The acquisition made perfect sense, except for one glaring problem in their financial statements that everyone seemed to have missed. Sophia was 3 layers deep into Meridian's subsidiary holdings when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "My office." Now, no signature, but she recognized an alpha command when she heard one, even in text form. Sophia grabbed her tablet and headed for the elevator, ignoring the flutter in her stomach. She'd spent 3 days trying to rationalize whatever had happened during her interview. Chemistry, Dominic had called it. But chemistry didn't make your skin feel electrified. Chemistry didn't make you dream about a man you'd met for 15 minutes. Dreams so vivid and primal she'd woken breathless and aching. The elevator ride to the 68th floor took only seconds, but Sophia used them to center herself. Professional, competent, unaffected by the most devastatingly attractive man she'd ever encountered. Dominic's assistant waved her through, and Sophia entered the corner office to find her new boss on a phone call, pacing like a caged predator. He gestured for her to sit, his gray eyes tracking her movement with an intensity that made her hyper-aware of every step. "I don't care what Silverfong wants," Dominic growled into the phone. "Our territory boundaries were established 30 years ago. If Marcus sees another one of their scouts in our sector, he has permission to handle it permanently." Sophia's instincts pinged. Territory? Scouts? What kind of business negotiation was this? Dominic ended the call abruptly and focused on her with his full attention. "What did you find in the Meridian file?" "Straight to business." "Good. Their numbers don't add up. Third-quarter projections show a $13 million revenue gap that's been buried in their subsidiary structures. Either they're hiding losses or conducting transactions they don't want disclosed." Dominic's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Approval? Time frame from file opening to analysis?" 42 minutes. It took our previous CFO 6 hours to notice the same discrepancy. Dominic moved behind his desk, and Sophia tried not to notice how his charcoal suit fit perfectly across his broad shoulders. "What's your recommendation?" "Delay the acquisition until we conduct a full forensic audit. If they're hiding losses, we need to renegotiate. If they're hiding illegal activity, we walk away. The deal closes Friday. We delay, we lose the acquisition to Vanguard." Sophia leaned forward. Better to lose a deal than acquire a liability. 13 million might not seem significant in a $4 billion acquisition, but if they're successfully hiding that, what else are they hiding? And why? Dominic studied her for a long moment, and Sophia had the unsettling feeling he was seeing far more than she intended to show. "You're not afraid to push back, even when I'm clearly invested in this deal. You hired me for my expertise and my judgment. If you wanted someone to just agree with you, You could have promoted from within. A smile curved Dominic's lips. A real one this time, not the corporate mask. It transformed his face, made him look younger and infinitely more dangerous to her self-control. Fair enough. Set. Up the forensic audit. I'll handle Meridian's CEO. We close Friday, but on our terms. Done. Sophia stood to leave, then paused. The phone call when I came in, you mentioned territory and scouts. What kind of business uses that terminology? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dominic's expression went completely neutral, which was somehow more intimidating than his usual intensity. Private matters. Nothing that concerns Thorne Industries. Everything that concerns you concerns the company. If there's a security threat, there isn't. The words came out rougher than before, almost a growl. Drop it, Sophia. The use of her first name sent heat spiraling through her. But more interesting was his reaction. Defensive, protective. He was hiding something, and her instinct was to dig until she found out what. Instead, she nodded. Understood. I'll have the audit team assembled by this afternoon. She made it halfway to the door before Dominic spoke again. Sophia. She turned back, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. Hunger, barely restrained. Need that matched the ache she'd been trying to ignore since their handshake last week. That thing between us, he said quietly. The chemistry. It's not going away. Then we deal with it like adults. Sophia forced herself to hold his gaze. We acknowledge it exists, we don't act on it, and we focus on building something revolutionary with this company. And if I can't stop thinking about you? The question was raw, honest in a way that made her heart race. Sophia smiled, putting every ounce of challenge she possessed into it. Then I guess you'll have to work harder on your self-control, Mr. Thorne. I didn't give up a VP position to become the boss's conquest. She left before he could respond, her heart pounding and her skin flushed. The elevator doors closed, and Sophia let out a shaky breath. This job was supposed to be about professional growth, about building something meaningful. Not about fighting an attraction, so intense it made her question every rational thought. Her phone buzzed again. Dominic. Dinner tonight. Osteria Morini, 8 p.m. We need to discuss the Meridian strategy. Sophia stared at the message. Dinner at one of Manhattan's most exclusive Italian restaurants wasn't about business strategy. It was about testing boundaries, seeing if they could be alone together without combusting. She should say no. Should insist on meeting in the office where assistants and colleagues provided a buffer. Instead, she typed back. I'll be there, but we split the check. I'm not interested in owing anyone anything. Dominic's response came immediately. I'm worth $8 billion, Sophia. You're not paying. Sophia. Then consider it a power move. I can afford my own meal. A pause then. You're going to be trouble, aren't you? Sophia smiled at her phone. Count on it. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, financial reviews, and assembling her audit team. Sophia worked through lunch, impressing her new department with her knowledge and her refusal to accept anything less than excellence. By 6 p.m., she had the forensic audit underway and had identified 3 other potential issues in Thorne Industries' current acquisition pipeline. Margaret appeared in her doorway. You should head home to change. Traffic to Osteria Morini can be brutal. Sophia looked up from her 4th monitor. How did you? Mr. Thorne's assistant mentioned it. Also, for future reference, when Mr. Thorne requests dinner meetings, he always books the private room. Very secluded. Very intimate. The way Margaret said it suggested this wasn't the first time Dominic had taken someone to an intimate dinner. Jealousy flared hot and unexpected in Sophia's chest. Does he do this often? Never. Margaret's smile was knowing. In 5 years as his CFO's assistant, I've never seen him take a personal interest in any employee. You're the first. That information should have worried her. Instead, it sent satisfaction coursing through her veins. Well, he's going to be disappointed. I'm here to work, not to be another notch on a billionaire's bedpost. Something tells me Mr. Thorne knows that. Margaret headed back to her desk, which is probably why he can't stay away. Sophia left the office at 7, heading to her apartment in Chelsea. She changed into a black dress that was elegant without being seductive, paired with heels and minimal jewelry. Professional but polished. She wasn't dressing for Dominic. The lie didn't even convince her. Osteria Morini was packed when she arrived, but the hostess immediately escorted her past the crowded main dining room to a private room in the back. Exposed brick walls, soft lighting, and a single table set for two. Intimate was an understatement. Dominic stood when she entered, and Sophia's breath caught. He'd changed out of his business suit into dark slacks and a black button-down that somehow made him look even more dangerous. His gray eyes tracked her from head to toe, and the heat in them made her skin flush. "You're late," he said, pulling out her chair. "Traffic." Sophia sat, hyper-aware of his proximity as he pushed in her chair. "Or maybe I was making you wait to prove I could." Dominic laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Honesty. I like it." He settled across from her, and a server immediately appeared with wine. "I took the liberty of ordering. Hope you don't mind. Depends on what you ordered. Branzino for both of us. Best in the city." Sophia relaxed slightly. "Good choice, though presumptuous." "I'm a presumptuous man." Dominic's eyes held hers. "It's how I built an empire." The wine was poured, and they were left alone. Sophia took a sip, a gavy that probably cost more than her first car. "So, Meridian Strategy. What's your read on their CEO? Are we really going to talk about business?" Dominic leaned back, studying her with that unsettling intensity. "Or are we going to address the fact that you're the most fascinating woman I've ever met, and I can't stop thinking about what it would be like to kiss you?" Sophia's heart slammed against her ribs. "Business is safer." "Safer isn't always better," says the man with everything to lose. Sophia met his gaze directly. "You're my boss, Dominic. Whatever this is between us, it's complicated by a massive power imbalance. You hold my career in your hands. Then quit." The words were immediate, intense. "Walk away from Thorne Industries. I'll give you a severance package that sets you up for life. Then we can explore this without complications." Sophia laughed, though her heart was racing. "You'd let me walk away from your company just to avoid an HR violation?" "I'd let you walk away so we could be equals." Dominic's expression was serious now. "Because you're right, the power dynamic is complicated. But I've spent 15 years building walls, keeping people at a distance, and in one interview, you demolished every defense I had." The raw honesty in his voice stole her breath. "I'm not quitting. I came here to build something extraordinary, and I don't run from complications. We're adults. We can handle this." "Can we?" Dominic's voice dropped lower. "Because right now, every instinct I have is telling me to claim you, to mark you as mine in ways you couldn't possibly understand." The words should have seemed possessive, arrogant. Instead, they sent heat flooding through Sophia's body, made her imagine exactly what those claims might entail. "Try me." Dominic's eyes flashed. Literally flashed with an amber glow that was there and gone so fast Sophia thought she'd imagined it. He stood abruptly. "We should eat. Before I do something we'll both regret." The dinner was excellent, the conversation safer, but no less charged. They discussed Meridian, market trends, Sophia's vision for the finance department. But underneath every word was the unspoken awareness, the pull between them that grew stronger with each passing minute. By the time dessert arrived, Sophia was wound so tight she could barely breathe. "I should go. Let me drive you home. I can catch a cab." "Sophia." Dominic stood, moving around the table to pull out her chair. His hand brushed her shoulder, and she felt the electric spark all the way to her toes. "Let me drive you home. Please." The please did her in. Sophia nodded, and Dominic escorted her out to where a sleek black Aston Martin waited. The drive to Chelsea should have taken 20 minutes. Dominic made it in 12, navigating Manhattan traffic with the same ruthless efficiency he applied to everything else. He pulled up to her building, and Sophia reached for the door handle. Dominic's hand covered hers, stopping her. "I meant what I said earlier. You're trouble. The kind that makes me question everything I've built my life around." Sophia turned to face him, and in the dim light of the car, she could see the struggle in his expression. Want warring with control. Desire battling responsibility. "What are you so afraid of?" "That you'll see who I really am and you'll run." The admission was raw. "That I'll claim you the way every instinct demands, and it will destroy us both." Sophia didn't understand half of what he was saying, but she understood the emotion behind it. Fear. Longing. A need so deep it bordered on desperate. "I don't run, Dominic. And I'm not easily destroyed." She leaned across the console and kissed him. Just a brush of lips, soft and questioning. Dominic froze for a heartbeat, then his control shattered. His hand fisted in her hair, angling her head as he took over the kiss, claiming her mouth with a possessiveness that should have frightened her, but instead made her moan. He tasted like wine and danger, like everything she'd been denying she wanted. His other hand cupped her jaw, thumb stroking her cheek as he kissed her with a hunger that matched her own. Sophia's hands found his shoulders, feeling the leashed power beneath his shirt, the tension that vibrated through his frame. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "This is a mistake." "Probably." Sophia's lips felt swollen, sensitized. "But I'm not sorry." "You should be." Dominic pulled back, and the look in his eyes was pure predator. "Because now that I've tasted you, I'm never letting you go." Before Sophia could respond, he was out of the car, opening her door with swift efficiency. She climbed out on shaky legs, and Dominic walked her to her building entrance. At the door, he caught her wrist, pulling her close one more time. "Sleep well, Sophia Chen. Tomorrow, we go back to being professional. But tonight," he brushed his thumb across her lower lip. "Tonight, you're mine." He was gone before she could argue, the Aston Martin disappearing into Manhattan traffic. Sophia touched her lips, still feeling the phantom pressure of his kiss. What had she just started? And why did she already know there was no going back? Chapter 3. Dominic's wolf was going insane. For 3 days, he'd maintained professional distance at the office while his every instinct screamed to claim his mate. Watching Sophia command his boardroom with brilliant strategic thinking only made it worse. She was perfect, sharp, fearless, ambitious. Everything his wolf wanted. Everything Dominic couldn't have without revealing secrets that would endanger them both. Thursday night, he stood in the basement of Thorne Tower, a space that officially didn't exist. 23 members of his pack gathered in the secure room designed to contain supernatural meetings. As Alpha, Dominic commanded their absolute loyalty. As CEO, he provided protection and prosperity. But tonight, pack politics threatened to unravel everything. Marcus stood beside him, 6'4" of muscle and menace, his second-in-command radiating controlled violence. Silverfang's Alpha sent another message. He wants a meeting. Says there's been a misunderstanding about the territorial boundaries. There's no misunderstanding. Dominic paced, his wolf close to the surface after days of denial around Sophia. The boundaries were drawn when my father was Alpha. Silverfang accepted them. Now, with the Meridian acquisition expanding our tech influence, they want to renegotiate. Elena, his third and head of pack intelligence, spoke up. "It's more than territory. Word has spread that you've found your mate. An unmated alpha is stable, controlled. A mated alpha becomes unpredictable, protective. Silverfang sees it as weakness." Dominic's growl resonated through the room, making several younger wolves whimper and drop their eyes. "My personal life is irrelevant to pack security." "Is it?" Marcus met his gaze steadily, one of the few who could. "You've been distracted, Dom. Your control is slipping. Yesterday in the boardroom, I saw your eyes flash when that banker dismissed Sophia's analysis. If I noticed, others will too." Dominic's jaw clenched. Marcus was right. Having Sophia near was eroding his carefully maintained facade. "I haven't marked her. Haven't claimed her. She doesn't even know what I am." "But you will," Elena said softly. "The mate bond isn't something you can resist forever. And when you claim her, she becomes a target for anyone who wants to hurt you." The thought of anyone threatening Sophia made Dominic's wolf surge forward, demanding protection. "Then we strengthen our position before that happens. The Meridian acquisition gives us control of quantum computing technology. We'll have leverage no other pack can match. If the acquisition goes through." Marcus pulled up a file on the room's display screen. "Our forensic audit found something. Meridian's CEO is human, but 3 of their board members are supernatural. Not werewolves, something else. The hidden transactions Sophia discovered? They're payments to supernatural entities. Some kind of protection money." Dominic's blood ran cold. "What entities?" "Still investigating. But if Meridian is compromised by other supernatural factions, acquiring them could start a war. Or give us unprecedented intelligence on who's operating in our territory." Dominic studied the data, his business mind and alpha instincts working in tandem. "We proceed with the acquisition, but we triple security. I want to know every supernatural connection Meridian has before we sign." "That's 48 hours, Elena warned. "Can you keep your cover intact that long? Especially around your mate." The door to the basement opened, and Dominic's heart stopped. Sophia stood in the doorway, her tablet in hand and fury in her eyes. "Your mate? Would someone like to explain what the hell is going on?" The entire pack fell silent. Several wolves tensed, ready to defend their alpha. Marcus stepped forward, but Dominic held up a hand. This was his disaster to handle. Sophia, what are you doing here? Working. I came back to run more financial models on Meridian. Her voice was controlled, but her eyes blazed. Imagine my surprise when I used my security credentials to access this floor and found it exists nowhere in the building schematics. Then I followed the sound of voices and found. She gestured at the assembled werewolves. Whatever this is. Dominic could scent her emotions, shock, betrayal, fear carefully hidden beneath anger. Everyone out. Now. The pack fled, leaving only Marcus, who hesitated until Dominic's glare sent him scrambling. The door closed, and Dominic was alone with his mate and the truth that could destroy them both. Before you start, Sophia said, her voice shaking slightly, I want you to know that I've been recording on my phone for the last 3 minutes. Whatever you say next will be documented. Smart. Protective. His wolf preened even as Dominic's stomach sank. Turn it off. Not a chance. I want answers, Dominic. Territory disputes, mates, pack dynamics. What are you involved in? Organized crime? Some kind of cult? Dominic moved closer, and Sophia held her ground despite her racing heart. He could hear it, could scent her fear mixing with that damnable attraction that never went away. I'm going to tell you something that will sound insane. I need you to listen to the whole explanation before you decide I'm crazy. Try me. Dominic took a deep breath. In 15 years of maintaining his secret, he'd never voluntarily revealed himself to a human. But Sophia wasn't just any human. She was his mate. She deserved the truth. I'm a werewolf, alpha of the Northeast pack. Everyone you just saw in this room can shift into wolf form. We're not the only supernatural beings in the world, and we've been living alongside humans for millennia. Sophia stared at him for a long moment, then laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. Werewolves. You're telling me werewolves are real, and you're their leader? Yes. Prove it. Dominic had known she'd demand proof. Sophia Chen didn't accept anything on faith. He pulled off his suit jacket, then unbuttoned his shirt, feeling her eyes track every movement. What I'm about to show you will change everything. Once you know, you can't unknow it. You'll be part of this world, whether you want to be or not. Show me. The shift was usually painful, bones breaking and reforming. But Dominic had centuries of practice making it smooth, controlled. He let his wolf surge forward, felt his bones crack and reshape, felt for a ripple across his skin. In seconds, a massive gray wolf stood where the billionaire CEO had been, easily 400 pounds of muscle and predator. He met Sophia's eyes, the same gray as his human form, and waited. Sophia stumbled back, her tablet clattering to the floor. Her face was pale, eyes wide with shock. Oh my God, this isn't possible. This violates every law of physics, biology. Dominic shifted back to human form, the transition just as fluid. He pulled on his shirt with practiced efficiency, giving Sophia time to process. It's real. We're real. And there are rules in our world, politics that make human boardrooms look simple. The mate thing, Sophia whispered. What you said about claiming me. What does that mean? In the werewolf world, every wolf has a destined mate. Someone whose scent, whose presence, completes them on a primal level. Dominic stepped closer, watching her reactions carefully. The moment I met you, my wolf recognized you. You're mine, Sophia. Not in a possessive, ownership way, in a you're my other half, my perfect match, my destiny way. Sophia shook her head. I don't believe in destiny. I believe in choice, in building what you want through hard work. So do I. Which is why I haven't claimed you, haven't marked you, even though every instinct I have demands it. Dominic ran a hand through his hair. I wanted to give you a choice. Wanted you to know me, work with me, decide if I was worth the complications. Sophia pressed her hand to her temple. This is insane. Werewolves. Mates. Supernatural politics. I came here to be a CFO, not to get pulled into some paranormal romance novel. I know. And if you want to walk away, I'll let you. I'll have your memory modified by one of our witches. Witches too. Sophia's laugh was slightly hysterical. Of course there are witches. And vampires, fae, demons, angels. It's a crowded world. Dominic kept his distance, though his wolf howled to close the gap. But if you stay, if you accept what I am, you become part of this. My enemies become your enemies. Other packs will see you as my weakness, a vulnerability they can exploit. Your life will never be simple again. Sophia met his eyes, and despite her shock, Dominic saw the steel he'd fallen for. Those board members you mentioned. The supernatural ones in Meridian. What are they? We don't know yet. That's what Elena is investigating. Elena, the woman who said I'd become a target. Sophia straightened her shoulders. If I walk away, if I let someone mess with my memory, I'm defenseless. I won't know what's out there, won't see threats coming. But if I stay, if I learn about this world, I can protect myself. Pride surged through Dominic. Even in shock, she was thinking strategically. You'd be under my protection. The pack's protection. I don't want to be protected like some damsel in distress. Sophia's eyes flashed. If I'm staying in this world, I'm learning to navigate it myself. I want to know everything. Pack politics, supernatural species, power structures. All of it. It's dangerous knowledge. Life is dangerous. At least this way, I see it coming. Sophia picked up her tablet, her hands only slightly shaking. Now about Meridian. If their board is compromised by supernatural entities, we need to know their agenda before we acquire. Do these entities pose a threat to your pack? Dominic's chest tightened with something he'd never expected to feel. Hope. She wasn't running, wasn't screaming. She was problem-solving, applying her brilliant mind to a world she'd just learned existed. Possibly. Supernatural alliances are complex. If we acquire Meridian, we inherit their supernatural obligations. Then we need leverage. Information they want more than whatever protection Meridian's been paying for. Sophia pulled up files on her tablet. The quantum computing technology Meridian developed. Could it be valuable to supernatural entities? Extremely. Quantum computing could crack supernatural security systems, track beings who use magic to hide. It's why I wanted the acquisition in the first place, to keep that technology in friendly hands. Sophia nodded, her shock giving way to the focused intensity he recognized from the boardroom. Then we use that as our bargaining chip. We identify these board members, figure out what they want, and negotiate new terms. We acquire Meridian, they get something they need, and everyone walks away satisfied. You're talking about negotiating with beings who could kill you with a thought. I'm talking about doing my job. Sophia met his gaze steadily. You hired me to handle complex financial situations. This is just more complex than I anticipated. Besides, a small smile curved her lips. I have a werewolf alpha as my boss. That has to count for something. Dominic couldn't help it, he laughed. The sound surprised him, releasing tension he'd been holding for days. You're incredible. You know that. I'm practical. Sophia moved closer, and Dominic's wolf surged with approval. But I have conditions. If I'm staying in this world, learning about it, I want honesty. No more secrets, no more hidden basements. You tell me about threats, pack politics, anything that could affect me or this company. Agreed. And this mate thing. Sophia's cheeks flushed. I need time to process that. The kiss was intense, and I can't deny there's something between us. But destiny or not, I need to choose this. Not because biology says we're compatible, but because I want you. Dominic's wolf whined, wanting immediate claiming. But the human part of him understood, respected her need for agency. Take all the time you need. I've waited 34 years for my mate. I can wait a little longer for you to choose me. Good. Sophia glanced at her watch. It's 11 p.m. We both should get some sleep. Tomorrow, we finish the Meridian audit, and you introduce me to Elena. If she's investigating supernatural connections, I want to help. Sophia, that's dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous. But you need someone who understands both the business and the supernatural implications. That's me now. She headed for the door, then paused. One more thing. That recording I mentioned, I wasn't actually recording. But your immediate panic at the thought told me you're serious about keeping this secret. Good to know. She left before Dominic could respond, and he stood alone in the basement, stunned. She'd bluffed him. Read his reaction, used it to gauge the truth. His mate was absolutely perfect. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Did she just outsmart me? Yes. Dominic grabbed his jacket. Call a meeting with Elena and her intelligence team. Tomorrow morning, before business hours. We're bringing Sophia into the fold. The pack won't like having a human in our inner circle. The pack will adjust. She's my mate, and she's brilliant enough to help us navigate this Meridian situation. Dominic's voice carried the alpha command that demanded obedience. Anyone who has a problem with it can challenge me directly. Marcus grinned. You really like her. I'm completely gone for her. And when she finally chooses me, I'm making her Luna of this pack and co-ruler of my empire. Dominic headed for the elevator. Now let's make sure we keep her alive long enough for that to happen. Chapter 4. Friday morning, Sophia arrived at Thorne Tower at 6 a.m. to find Dominic, Marcus, and Elena waiting in the hidden basement conference room. They'd transformed the space overnight. Whiteboards covered with supernatural sigils and corporate flowcharts, monitors displaying both financial data and what looked like magical symbols. Elena studied her with calculating amber eyes. You're taking this remarkably well. Most humans faint when they learn werewolves exist. Most humans didn't grow up solving differential equations for fun. Sophia set down her coffee and tablet. I'm good at adapting to new information, no matter how impossible it seems. Now, what have you found? Elena pulled up surveillance photos on the main screen. 3 Meridian board members are supernatural. Dr. Catherine Wells is a siren. They manipulate emotions and decisions through voice and presence. Perfect for boardroom manipulation. Thomas Crane is a warlock, specializing in technology magic. And Sarah Martinez is half-demon, which gives her the ability to sense lies and exploit weaknesses. Sophia studied the photos, her analytical mind cataloging threats. So Meridian has supernatural beings positioned to control business decisions, enhance technology through magic, and ensure negotiations always favor their interests. They're not just paying protection money, they're being run by supernatural entities. Exactly, Dominic said, which means acquiring them brings us into whatever larger game they're playing. Or, Sophia countered, we use the acquisition to turn the game in our favor. What do we know about their end goal? Marcus brought up more files. The quantum computing technology Meridian developed can crack supernatural security systems, as Dominic mentioned. But it can also detect magical signatures, track supernatural beings, even predict supernatural events based on pattern analysis. It's the most dangerous technology in the world for beings who rely on secrecy. Sophia's mind raced. They're not trying to protect Meridian. They're trying to control this technology before it exposes the supernatural world. If humans got this technology and figured out how to use it, mass panic, witch hunts, war between species. Elena nodded grimly. Every supernatural faction wants this technology secured or destroyed. The question is which faction these board members represent. Then we find out. Sophia opened her tablet. Catherine Wells, Thomas Crane, and Sarah Martinez have been on Meridian's board for 3 years. Pull every decision they've influenced, every investment they've pushed, every strategic direction they've steered the company toward. There will be a pattern. They worked for 2 hours, cross-referencing business decisions with supernatural politics. Finally, a picture emerged. They're playing both sides, Sophia announced, displaying her analysis. Look at this. They've pushed Meridian into partnerships with 6 different tech companies, all of which have supernatural interests. Some are vampire-controlled, others are fae-backed. One is even a demon conglomerate. They're not representing one faction. They're brokering deals between multiple factions, taking a cut from each. Dominic leaned forward, studying her work. They're supernatural power brokers, using Meridian as neutral ground for interspecies negotiation. Which means they don't want us to acquire Meridian, Marcus said. We disrupt their entire operation. Unless we offer them something better. Sophia pulled up Thorne Industries' corporate structure. Dominic, what if instead of shutting down their operation, we offer to expand it? Thorne Industries is 10 times larger than Meridian, with reach into every major market. If they want a neutral ground for supernatural negotiation, we can provide something much bigger, with conditions. Elena's eyebrows rose. You want to negotiate with supernatural power brokers? I want to turn a hostile acquisition into a strategic partnership. Sophia met Dominic's gaze. We acquire Meridian, but we offer Wells, Crane, and Martinez positions on Thorne Industries' board as supernatural liaisons. They get access to a larger platform for their brokering services. We get intelligence on supernatural factions operating in our territory, and everyone wins. Except, Dominic said slowly, we'd be inviting potential enemies into our inner circle. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Corporate Espionage 101. Sophia smiled. Besides, if they're on our board, they're bound by corporate governance and fiduciary duty. We control the structure, they operate within it. Plus, we get real-time intelligence on supernatural threats. Marcus whistled low. That's brilliant. Risky as hell, but brilliant. It's also unprecedented, Elena warned. No pack has ever formally allied with supernatural brokers. The old guard won't like it. The old guard isn't facing tech that could expose our entire world. Dominic stood, pacing with predatory grace. Sophia's right. We need to adapt or die. If we can control the narrative, turn Meridian from a threat into an asset, we strengthen our position exponentially. There's still the Silverfong problem, Marcus reminded him. They're not going to back down just because we made a smart business move. No, Dominic agreed. But if we have supernatural brokers on our board, we have leverage in ways Silverfong doesn't. We become the pack that bridges supernatural and human worlds. That's power they can't match. Sophia checked her watch. The Meridian closing is in 10 hours. We need to contact Wells, Crane, and Martinez, set up a meeting, and pitch this partnership before they can sabotage the deal. I'll handle the outreach, Elena said. I have contacts in the broker community. They'll listen to me. I want to be in that meeting, Sophia said firmly. If we're negotiating, I should be there. I understand the business side better than anyone. Absolutely not. Dominic's voice carried the alpha command. These beings could kill you before I could stop them. Sophia stood, moving into his personal space without fear. Then I guess you better make sure they understand I'm under your protection. I'm not sitting on the sidelines, Dominic. You wanted honesty? Here it is. I'm part of this now. Your world, your pack, your business. So either you trust me to handle myself, or we're going to have problems. The room fell silent. Marcus and Elena exchanged glances, clearly waiting for their alpha's response. Dominic stared down at Sophia, his gray eyes swirling with amber as his wolf pushed forward. The air crackled with dominance, with the alpha power that made grown werewolves submit. Sophia didn't flinch. Finally, Dominic smiled, a fierce, proud expression. You're going to be an incredible Luna. I haven't agreed to be your Luna yet. Yet. I like that word. Dominic turned to Elena. Set up the meeting for 3 p.m. Downtown, neutral territory. Tell them the alpha of the Northeast Pack and his CFO want to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement regarding Meridian Technologies. Elena nodded and left to make the calls. Marcus followed, leaving Sophia alone with Dominic. You're insane, Dominic said, but his voice was warm. Challenging me in front of my second and third. Demanding to negotiate with supernatural beings you just learned existed. I'm practical, Sophia corrected. And I don't do anything halfway. You want me in your world? Fine. But I'm not going to be some protected princess in a tower. I'm going to be your partner, in business and whatever else this is between us. Dominic closed the distance between them, his hand cupping her jaw with surprising gentleness. You could have run. Could have let Elena modify your memory and gone back to your safe, normal life. Why didn't you? Sophia leaned into his touch, her body responding to his proximity despite her logical brain screaming about complications. Because safe and normal never appealed to me. I want extraordinary. Want to build something that changes the world. And because, she met his eyes. Because I've never felt anything like what I feel when I'm near you. It terrifies me and exhilarates me, and I need to know if it's real or just supernatural chemistry. It's both. Dominic's thumb stroked her cheek. The mate bond creates the pull, but what we build from it, that's our choice. You could be my mate, and we could hate each other. Or we could be something extraordinary. Then let's be extraordinary. Sophia rose on her toes and kissed him, softer than their first kiss but no less intense. Dominic responded immediately, his arms wrapping around her waist and pulling her flush against him. He kissed her like he was starving, like she was air and he'd been drowning, and Sophia melted into him. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. After the meeting today, after we've secured Meridian and handled the brokers, I'm taking you somewhere. Just us, no business, no pack politics. I want to court you properly. Want you to know me beyond the CEO and the alpha. Court me. Sophia smiled against his lips. How old-fashioned. I'm 93 years old, Sophia. Old-fashioned is in my DNA. Sophia pulled back, eyes wide. You're what? Werewolves age differently. Every year as a human equals about 3 months for us. I look 34 because I am, in werewolf years. But I've been alive since 1932. So you've lived through World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, the Tech Revolution. Sophia's mind spun. The stories you must have. I'll tell you all of them. But right now, we have a company to save and supernatural brokers to impress. Dominic released her reluctantly. Get your game face on, CFO Chen. We're about to make history. Sophia grinned. History is my favorite thing to make. Chapter 5. The meeting location was neutral by design. A private room in the back of a Korean restaurant in Koreatown, owned by a kitsune who provided space for supernatural negotiations. Sophia sat beside Dominic at the sleek table, Elena and Marcus flanking them like bodyguards, which Sophia supposed they were. At 3 p.m. precisely, the door opened and 3 people entered. Catherine Wells was striking, her auburn hair perfectly styled, her presence filling the room with a warmth that felt artificial. Thomas Crane wore a perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than Sophia's first car, his eyes sharp with intelligence. Sarah Martinez was petite and professional, but Sophia felt an immediate wave of unease in her presence. Alpha Thorne, Catherine said, her voice like honey and silk. How unexpected. When Elena reached out, I assumed this was about the Meridian acquisition falling through. On the contrary, Dominic's voice was cool, controlled. We're here to discuss how the acquisition benefits everyone at this table. The 3 supernatural board members exchanged glances. Thomas spoke next, his tone analytical. You want to acquire Meridian knowing we're embedded in its operations. Most alphas would walk away rather than risk exposure. I'm not most alphas. Dominic leaned back with practiced ease. And my CFO isn't most humans. Sophia. All eyes turned to her, and Sophia felt the weight of supernatural attention like physical pressure. Catherine's was seductive, trying to make her want to please. Thomas's was calculating, searching for weaknesses. Sarah's was invasive, probing for lies. Sophia had faced hostile boardrooms full of entitled men trying to intimidate her. Supernatural beings weren't that different. We know what you are, Sophia said calmly. We know Meridian serves as neutral ground for supernatural negotiation and power brokering. We know the quantum computing technology threatens to expose the supernatural world if it falls into the wrong hands. And we know you've been playing multiple factions against each other for profit. Sarah's eyes narrowed. That's quite the accusation, Ms. Chun. It's not an accusation. It's an observation based on 3 years of financial data and strategic decisions. Sophia pulled up her tablet, displaying the analysis she'd prepared. You've brokered 17 major agreements between vampire covens, werewolf packs, fae courts, and demon collectives using Meridian as the intermediary. You've made approximately $80 million in brokerage fees, while keeping the quantum technology locked down and controlled. You're smarter than we anticipated, Catherine said, and her voice carried an edge now. Here's what we're proposing, Sophia continued, ignoring the implied threat. Thorne Industries acquires Meridian as planned. You 3 accept positions on our board as supernatural liaisons, giving you access to a platform 10 times larger than Meridian. You continue your brokering services, but under our corporate governance. In exchange, we provide resources, security, and legitimacy you can't get operating in the shadows. And what does Thorne Industries get? Thomas asked. Intelligence, Dominic said. Real-time information on supernatural factions operating in our territory. Early warning on threats. Access to supernatural resources that can help protect both our pack and our business interests. Plus, we control the quantum technology instead of fighting over it. You want to turn us into employees. Sarah's voice dripped with disdain. We want to turn you into partners, Sophia corrected. Limited partners with specific authority and generous compensation, but partners nonetheless. You get legitimacy, protection under Thorne Industries' considerable influence, and access to resources that make your current operation look amateur. Marcus slid contracts across the table. Elena helped draft these. Full legal protections for all parties, guaranteed compensation, defined roles and responsibilities. We're not trying to trap you. We're trying to evolve the relationship into something sustainable. Catherine picked up the contract, her eyes scanning the pages with supernatural speed. This is surprisingly fair. Board positions with real authority, compensation that matches our current income, and protections against exposure or retaliation from other supernatural factions. We're not your enemies, Dominic said. We're pragmatists who recognize that the supernatural world is changing. Technology is advancing too fast to keep hiding. Eventually, humans will discover us. When that happens, I want alliances in place that ensure peaceful coexistence rather than war. That's a bold vision, Alpha Thorne, Thomas said. Some would say naive. Some would say ruthlessly intelligent, Sophia countered. You've been brokering deals in the shadows, always one exposure away from disaster. We're offering you the legitimacy and protection of a $15 billion corporation. When the supernatural world is eventually revealed, which side do you want to be on? The shadows or the boardroom? Sarah leaned forward, her demon senses clearly working overtime. You're telling the truth. Both of you. You actually believe this alliance can work. We do, Dominic confirmed. But we need to know one thing first. Who do you really work for? What faction or entity do you ultimately answer to? The three brokers exchanged meaningful looks. Finally, Catherine spoke. We work for ourselves. Started our operation 15 years ago when we realized supernatural factions were making terrible business decisions based on centuries of tradition rather than modern reality. We saw an opportunity to help them adapt while making a profit. We're not loyal to any single faction. We're loyal to survival and prosperity. Then we want the same things, Sophia said. Survival, prosperity, and a world where supernatural beings don't have to hide. This partnership gets us all closer to that goal. Elena, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. There's one more thing. Alpha Thorne has declared Ms. Chen as his mate. Any agreement we make includes her protection. Attack her, and you attack the entire Northeast pack. Sophia's heart stuttered. She and Dominic hadn't discussed making their relationship public, hadn't even finished figuring out what it meant. But Dominic's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. Catherine smiled, genuine for the first time. A human mate. That's either the bravest or most foolish thing I've heard in decades. It's love, Dominic said simply. Which makes it both. Sarah studied them both, then nodded. No lies. No deception. You really care for her. I do. Dominic's voice carried absolute certainty. Which is why I need to know you'll honor these agreements. Betray us, and there won't be a place in this world you can hide. The threat hung in the air, backed by alpha power that made the room feel smaller. Thomas broke the silence. We accept your terms. On one condition. We get to vet all supernatural-related decisions before they're implemented. We've spent 15 years building relationships across factions. We won't have them destroyed by inexperience or rash choices. Fair, Dominic agreed. But you answer to me. This is still my pack, my company. We work together, but I have final authority. Then we have a deal. Catherine signed the contract with a flourish. Thomas and Sarah followed suit. Welcome to the supernatural business world, Ms. Chen. Try not to die in your first month. I'll do my best, Sophia said dryly. The meeting concluded with handshakes and the kind of pointed politeness that came from mutually beneficial arrangements built on calculated risk. When the three brokers left, Sophia let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. That went better than expected, Marcus said. Or worse, Elena countered. We just invited 3 power brokers into our inner circle. This could be brilliant or disastrous. It's necessary, Dominic said. And it's done. Now we have 6 hours to finalize the Meridian acquisition with these new terms. He stood, pulling Sophia up with him. Elena, Marcus, handle the contract revisions and SEC filings. Sophia and I have something to discuss. They left before anyone could argue. Dominic practically dragging Sophia to the private elevator that led directly to his penthouse office. The moment the doors closed, he had her pressed against the wall, his mouth on hers in a kiss that stole her breath. You were incredible, he growled against her lips. Fierce and brilliant and absolutely fearless. My wolf is demanding I claim you right now. Sophia's hands fisted in his shirt. You told them I was your mate. That wasn't part of the plan. I know. I'm sorry. But sitting in that room, watching you negotiate with supernatural beings like you'd been doing it your whole life, I couldn't help myself. Dominic pulled back enough to meet her eyes. You're mine, Sophia. I know you need time, know you want to choose this. But my wolf won't stay quiet much longer. Sophia could feel the tension in him, the barely controlled need. And if she was honest, she felt it too. The pull between them had grown stronger every day, every touch, every heated glance across conference tables. What does claiming mean? Specifically? Dominic's eyes flashed amber. I bite you. Here. His fingers traced the junction of her neck and shoulder. I mark you with my scent, bind you to me and my pack. You'd be able to feel my emotions, sense when I'm near. And every supernatural being in the world would know you're under my protection. It sounds permanent. It is. There's no unclaiming a mate. Once we're bonded for life. Sophia's heart raced. This was insane. Agreeing to a supernatural bond with a man she'd known for less than 2 weeks. But nothing about this situation was rational. She'd learned werewolves existed, negotiated with supernatural power brokers, and fallen for a 93-year-old alpha who looked 34 and commanded empires both corporate and supernatural. Not yet, she whispered. But soon. I need to understand your world better. Need to see you beyond the boardroom. You said you wanted to court me properly. Do that first. Show me who you are when you're not being the alpha or the CEO. Relief and frustration warred in Dominic's expression. You're going to make me work for this, aren't you? You're worth working for. Sophia kissed him gently. Besides, aren't the best things worth waiting for? They are, Dominic agreed, though his wolf clearly disagreed based on the growl that rumbled through his chest. Tomorrow night. I'm taking you somewhere special. Just us. Tomorrow night, Sophia confirmed. The elevator dinged, and they stepped apart just as the doors opened to reveal a very amused Marcus. The board is assembled. They want an update on the Meridian situation. Of course they do. Dominic straightened his tie, slipping back into CO mode with practiced ease. Let's go make some history. Sophia followed him out, her lips still tingling from his kiss, and her mind already planning for tomorrow night. Whatever Dominic had in store, whatever this courtship entailed, she was ready. Well, mostly ready. The part about a permanent bite mark and supernatural bond was still terrifying. But Sophia had never played it safe, had never chosen the easy path. And Dominic Thorne was anything but safe or easy. Chapter 6. Saturday evening, Dominic picked Sophia up in a different car. A vintage Porsche that purred like a contented cat. He looked different too, wearing jeans and a black Henley that showed off his muscular frame without the armor of a business suit. More relaxed. More dangerous. Where are we going? Sophia asked, settling into the leather seat. She'd chosen a casual dress, not sure what to expect from a date with a werewolf billionaire. My estate, an hour north of the city. Dominic pulled into traffic with easy confidence. It's where the pack gathers for important events. Where I go when I need to remember I'm more than a CEO in a suit. You want me to meet your pack. I want you to see where I come from, who I am beyond the boardroom. Dominic's hand found hers, fingers interlacing. You said you wanted to understand my world. This is ground zero. They drove north as the city gave way to suburbs, then to rolling hills and forest. The sun was setting when Dominic turned onto a private road that wound through towering pines. Finally, they emerged into a clearing where a sprawling estate stood. Part modern mansion, part rustic lodge, all luxury. This is yours, Sophia breathed. Mine and the pack's. We've owned this land for 80 years. 200 acres of forest, completely private. Dominic parked and came around to open her door. Come on. There's someone I want you to meet. He led her not into the mansion but around to the back, where the forest beckoned. The moment they stepped under the trees, Sophia felt the atmosphere change, wilder, more primal. And then she saw them. Wolves. At least 20 of them, ranging from massive to medium-sized, in colors from pure black to silver gray to russet brown. They lounged in a clearing, playing or napping or simply existing in their wolf forms. But when Dominic appeared, every head turned. Several of the wolves stood, approaching with clear respect and affection. This is my pack, Dominic said softly. In their true forms, without the human masks. A massive black wolf approached Sophia carefully, amber eyes studying her. Marcus, she realized. His human scent carried over even in wolf form. He sniffed her hand then, to her surprise, licked her fingers in what seemed like approval. Elena, in her silver-gray wolf form, approached next. She was smaller but moved with lethal grace. She circled Sophia once, then sat at Dominic's feet, a sign of acceptance. One by one, the pack approached, each wolf giving Sophia careful inspection before offering some small gesture of welcome. A nose bump, a tail wag. One playful youngster even brought her a stick, dropping it at her feet hopefully. They're beautiful, Sophia whispered, crouching down to pet the young wolf. I didn't expect them to be so normal. Dominic smiled. We're still people, just in different forms. Our personalities don't change. Marcus is still protective and serious. Elena is still calculating and strategic. And Toby there, he indicated the stick-bearing wolf, is still desperate for attention. Sophia laughed as Toby wagged his entire body enthusiastically. Can I meet them? As humans, I mean. Later. Right now, I want to show you something. Dominic took her hand, leading her deeper into the forest. They walked for 10 minutes until they reached a clearing with a small lake, its surface reflecting the last light of sunset. This is my favorite spot on the property. When pack politics or business gets overwhelming, I come here to think. It's gorgeous. It's peaceful. Dominic sat on a large flat rock by the water's edge, pulling Sophia down beside him. For 93 years, I've been fighting to survive as a werewolf in a world that would kill me if they knew what I was. Fighting to build wealth and power to protect my pack. Fighting to maintain the facade that keeps us all safe. I'm tired, Sophia. Tired of fighting alone. The raw honesty in his voice made Sophia's chest tighten. You're not alone. You have your pack, Marcus, Elena. It's not the same. Dominic's thumb traced circles on her palm. The pack looks to me for leadership, for strength. I can't show weakness, can't admit fear or doubt. With them, I'm always the alpha. Never just Dominic. Sophia shifted closer, resting her head on his shoulder. Tell me about before. When you were young. What was life like? Brutal, Dominic said quietly. I was born in 1932, in the middle of the Great Depression. My father was alpha then, struggling to keep the pack fed and hidden while the human world fell apart around us. We lived in Pennsylvania, in the mountains where people left us alone. But even then, there were hunters who knew what to look for. How did you survive? By being ruthless. By learning that sentiment was a luxury we couldn't afford. Dominic's jaw tightened. When I was 12, in human years, so maybe 4 in werewolf aging, hunters attacked our pack. Killed 7 of us, including my mother. My father hunted them down and made sure they could never hurt anyone again. That's when I learned that being alpha means making hard choices. Protecting the pack at any cost. Sophia could hear the old pain in his voice, the wounds that had never fully healed. I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me who I am. Taught me that power is the only real protection. Dominic turned to face her. After World War II, I saw opportunities in the rebuilding economy. Started small, investing in real estate, learning how human business worked. Built wealth slowly, carefully. By the 1970s, I had enough to start Thorne Industries. Used it as a cover for pack operations and as a way to build legitimate power. $15 billion later, Sophia murmured. $15 billion of protection. Resources to hide pack members. Influence to keep supernatural matters quiet. Money to fix problems before they become disasters. Dominic's expression was fierce. Everything I built was for the pack. To keep them safe in a world that wants us dead. And now? Sophia asked. What do you want now? Dominic's hand cupped her face, his touch gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. Now, I want something for myself. Someone to share this with. Someone who sees both sides of me, the alpha and the man, and chooses to stay anyway. I see you, Sophia whispered. The brilliant CEO who outthinks everyone in the boardroom. The protective alpha who would die for his pack. The lonely man who's spent 90 years fighting alone. I see all of you, Dominic. Then let me court you properly. Let me show you what it means to be mine. Dominic's voice dropped to a growl. I promise you wealth, power, passion beyond anything you've imagined. I promise you a partnership where we rule together, in business and in the pack. I promise you honesty, loyalty, and a love that spans lifetimes. All I ask is that you give us a chance. Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was too fast, too intense, too impossible. But her heart, her instincts, everything that made her who she was recognized the truth in his words. I want that, she admitted. All of it. The partnership, the passion, the extraordinary life. But I'm scared, Dominic. Scared of losing myself in your world. Scared that the mate bond will override my choices. Then we go slow. We build this together, one choice at a time. Dominic pressed his forehead to hers. The mate bond creates the pull, but we decide what we make of it. You'll never lose yourself, Sophia. You're too strong, too brilliant for that. And I don't want a submissive mate who just agrees with everything I say. I want you fierce, challenging, absolutely unstoppable. Sophia laughed, the sound breaking the tension. You say that now. Wait until I'm arguing with you in a board meeting. I'm counting on it. Dominic kissed her softly, sweetly, so different from their previous heated encounters. Stay tonight. Not for claiming, not for anything physical beyond what we both want. Just stay. Meet the pack as humans. See what your life could look like here. Sophia knew she should say no. Should maintain boundaries, keep some distance. Instead, she found herself nodding. Okay, I'll stay. Chapter 7. The pack house transformed as evenings settled over the estate. Wolves shifted back to human form throughout the property, pulling on clothes kept in strategic locations. By the time Dominic and Sophia returned to the main house, 23 people in various states of casual dress filled the enormous great room. The atmosphere was relaxed, familial. Nothing like the corporate hierarchy Sophia had expected. Marcus stood in the massive kitchen, pulling a roast from the oven that smelled divine. Alpha. Sophia. Perfect timing. Dinner's ready in 5. You cook? Sophia asked, genuinely surprised. Marcus grinned, looking younger and less intimidating in jeans and a worn t-shirt. Someone has to feed this pack. Elena burns water, and Dominic thinks takeout counts as a home-cooked meal. I've been busy building an empire, Dominic protested, but his tone was affectionate. This was a different side of him. Relaxed, comfortable, surrounded by family rather than employees. Elena appeared, now dressed in leggings and an oversized sweater, looking more like a college student than a deadly supernatural intelligence operative. Sophia, come meet everyone properly, without the whole intimidating wolf thing. For the next hour, Sophia was introduced to the pack members one by one. There was James, a software developer at Thorne Industries who managed the company's security systems. Rachel worked in HR, using her enhanced senses to detect lies during interviews. David ran a construction company that employed several pack members and provided legitimate income streams. Each person had a role, both within the pack hierarchy and in the human world. We're not just a pack, Elena explained as they settled around the massive dining table. We're a family, a business network, a support system. When one of us needs help, we all step up. Dinner was a boisterous affair. Conversation flowed easily, ranging from pack politics to sports to heated debates about the best pizza in Manhattan. Sophia found herself laughing, genuinely enjoying the company of these people who could shift into wolves at will. They teased Dominic mercilessly, calling him boss, with obvious affection, and treated Sophia with careful respect tinged with curiosity. So, Rachel said, leaning forward with a mischievous smile, you're really going to be our Luna? Make an honest wolf out of our eternally single alpha. Rachel, Dominic growled, but there was no real heat in it. I'm considering my options, Sophia said diplomatically, earning laughs around the table. She's perfect, James announced. Anyone who can make the alpha squirm is exactly what this pack needs. After dinner, as the pack dispersed to various activities, some heading out for a night run, others settling in for movies or games, Dominic led Sophia upstairs to a private wing of the house. His personal quarters were stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest, a king-sized bed that looked ridiculously comfortable, and a sitting area with a fireplace already crackling with warmth. This is your room? Sophia asked, taking in the space. It was luxurious but personal, filled with books, art, small mementos from decades of living. When I'm here, yes. I have the penthouse in the city for business, but this is home. Dominic moved to the windows, looking out at his territory. I wanted you to see this. To understand that being my mate isn't just about boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. It's about this. Family, belonging, a place to be yourself without pretense. Sophia joined him at the window. They love you, not because you're the alpha, but because of who you are. I've protected them for 60 years. Since my father died and I took over as alpha. They're my responsibility, my family. Dominic's arm slid around her waist, pulling her against his side. And if you choose this, they become yours too. You'd be Luna, second only to me in authority, responsible for their well-being, their mediator and protector. That's a lot of responsibility. You run the finances for a $15 billion company. You just negotiated with supernatural power brokers like you've been doing it your whole life. You can handle being Luna. Dominic turned her to face him. The question is, do you want to? Sophia studied his face, the sharp features, the gray eyes that held decades of experience and loneliness, the hope he was trying so hard to hide. Ask me again in a month. Let me learn more about your world, about the pack, about what being Luna actually means. Then I'll give you my answer. A month. Dominic's smile was relieved. I can work with that. A knock on the door interrupted them. Marcus entered without waiting for permission, his expression grim. "We have a problem. Silverfang's Alpha just crossed into our territory. He's at the eastern border with 5 of his wolves, demanding a meeting." Dominic's entire demeanor shifted instantly. The relaxed man disappeared, replaced by the Alpha, cold, dangerous, absolutely in command. "Tell him he has 10 minutes to get off my land or I'll remove him permanently. He says he has information about the Meridian board members. Claims there's a threat you need to know about." Dominic's jaw clenched. He's using the acquisition as leverage, trying to force a meeting to discuss territory concessions. "Or," Sophia said quietly, "he actually has information we need. The brokers have made a lot of enemies. If Silverfang knows something about them, we should at least hear him out. It's a trap, probably, but it's also an opportunity to assess his strength, his strategy. Knowledge is power, Dominic. Even from enemies." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "She's got a point, Dom." Dominic looked between them, clearly torn between alpha instincts that demanded dominance and business instincts that valued intelligence gathering. "Fine. We meet him at the border. Full security detail. Sophia, you stay here." "Absolutely not." Sophia crossed her arms. "If this involves the Meridian acquisition and the brokers, I should be there. I know the business details better than anyone. It's too dangerous. Then protect me. That's what the Alpha does, right? Besides, showing up with your mate sends a message. You're not threatened by him. You're secure enough in your position to bring your partner to a negotiation." "She's not wrong," Marcus said. "It's a power move. Shows strength, not weakness." Dominic studied Sophia for a long moment, then nodded sharply. "Stay behind me. Don't engage unless I tell you to. And if things go wrong, Marcus gets you out of there immediately." "Understood." "Understood." 20 minutes later, they stood at the eastern edge of Thorne territory. 5 SUVs formed a semicircle, headlights illuminating a clearing where 2 groups of wolves faced each other. Dominic's pack numbered 12, all in human form but radiating predatory readiness. Across from them, Silverfang's group was smaller, 6 wolves including their alpha. Robert Silverfang was impressive, 6'5", built like a linebacker, with silver hair and ice blue eyes that gleamed with calculated intelligence. He smiled when Dominic approached, but there was no warmth in it. "Alpha Thorne, thank you for agreeing to meet. You have 5 minutes. Talk." Dominic's voice was pure command, brooking no argument. "Straight to business." "I respect that." Robert's eyes shifted to Sophia, and his smile widened. "And this must be the human mate everyone's talking about. Brave of you to bring her to a potentially hostile meeting. She's under my protection. Touch her, threaten her, even look at her wrong, and I'll tear your throat out." The words were casual, conversational, but backed by absolute alpha dominance that made several of Silverfang's wolves whimper and back up. Robert raised his hands in mock surrender. "No threats intended. I'm actually here to help. You acquired Meridian Technologies, brought 3 supernatural brokers onto your board. Clever move. But you don't know what you're really dealing with. Enlighten me. Catherine Wells, Thomas Crane, and Sarah Martinez aren't just freelance brokers. They're working for the Triad, a coalition of the 3 most powerful supernatural entities in North America. An ancient vampire, a fey queen, and a demon lord who've been manipulating supernatural politics for centuries. The brokers are their agents, feeding them information and brokering deals that ultimately serve the Triad's interests. Sophia's mind raced, connecting dots. The 17 agreements they brokered, they all strengthened the Triad's influence while appearing to benefit multiple parties. Exactly. Robert looked impressed. You're smarter than most Alpha's mates. The quantum technology wasn't just a threat to supernatural secrecy. It's a weapon the Triad wanted controlled. Now Thorne Industries owns it, which means you've become either a very valuable ally or a very dangerous enemy to the most powerful beings in the supernatural world. Why tell me this? Dominic demanded. What do you want? An alliance. The Triad is expanding, absorbing smaller packs and factions. Eventually, they'll come for both our territories. Separately, we're vulnerable. Together, we might survive. Robert's expression was serious now. I'm not asking you to like me, Thorne. I'm asking you to be smart. Dominic was silent for a long moment, his alpha instincts clearly at war with strategic thinking. Finally, he spoke. I'll consider your proposal, but I need verification of everything you've said. evidence that the brokers work for the Triad, documentation of their expansion plans. I can provide that. In exchange, I want your word that when the Triad makes their move, we stand together. You have my word that I'll review your evidence. Nothing more until I know you're telling the truth. Dominic's eyes flashed amber. And Robert, if this is some elaborate scheme to gain access to my territory or my resources, I'll know. And I'll make sure you regret it. No scheme. Just survival. Robert nodded to his wolves. I'll have the evidence delivered within 48 hours. We'll talk again. The Silver Fong pack withdrew, disappearing into the forest. Dominic stood perfectly still until they were gone, then turned to his pack. Elena, I want full surveillance on Silverfang's movements. Marcus, contact our information brokers. I want independent confirmation of this Triad. If Robert's telling the truth, we need to know everything about them. And the board members? Sophia asked. We watch them carefully. Don't reveal that we know about the Triad. Let them think they're still operating under our radar while we gather intelligence. Dominic's hand found hers, squeezing gently. You did well tonight. Stayed calm, thought strategically, didn't panic when things got tense. I'm not much of a panicker. Sophia leaned into him, suddenly exhausted. But I could use that comfortable bed you promised me. Dominic's expression softened. Let's get you home. Tomorrow we deal with this mess. Tonight you sleep. Back at the pack house, Dominic led Sophia to a guest room. Carefully not his own bedroom, respecting the boundaries she'd set. But at the door, he pulled her close, kissing her with a tenderness that made her chest ache. Thank you, he whispered against her lips. For staying. For meeting the pack. For standing beside me tonight. You're already more of a Luna than you realize. I'm just being myself. Exactly. And yourself is extraordinary. One more kiss, soft and sweet. Sleep well, Sophia. Tomorrow, we start planning how to deal with the most powerful supernatural entities in North America. Just another day at Thorne Industries, Sophia joked, but her heart was racing. What had she gotten herself into? As if reading her thoughts, Dominic smiled. No regrets. Sophia thought about the pack's warmth, the way Dominic transformed when he was with them, the life he was offering her. Complicated, dangerous, but also exciting and meaningful in ways her old life never was. No regrets, she confirmed. Not yet, anyway. I'll make sure you never do. Dominic stepped back before his control could slip. Good night, mate. Good night, Alpha. Sophia closed the door, leaning against it as she processed everything. 2 weeks ago, she'd been a Goldman Sachs VP with a perfectly planned career trajectory. Now she was the potential Luna of a werewolf pack, negotiating with supernatural power brokers and facing threats from ancient beings she'd never known existed. And somehow, impossibly, she'd never felt more alive. Chapter 8. Monday morning, Sophia walked into Thorne Tower to find chaos. Stock prices were fluctuating wildly. Analysts were demanding statements about the Meridian acquisition, and 3 board members, the supernatural brokers, had called an emergency meeting without consulting Dominic. Margaret met her at the elevator, her usually calm demeanor frazzled. Miss Chun, thank God. Mr. Thorne is in the boardroom and he's not happy. Sophia could hear the growl from 2 floors up. What happened? The brokers announced this morning that Thorne Industries is entering into strategic partnerships with 3 major conglomerates, without board approval or executive review. The market is going insane. Sophia's blood ran cold. The Triad. They were making their move, using the brokers to force Thorne Industries into alliances that would benefit the ancient supernatural entities. Get me everything on these partnerships. Every detail, every clause, every company involved. She burst into the boardroom to find Dominic standing at the head of the table, his eyes flashing amber as he faced down Catherine, Thomas, and Sarah. The other board members, all human, looked terrified, clearly sensing the predatory tension even if they didn't understand its source. Completely unacceptable, Dominic was saying, his voice barely controlled. You don't make announcements on behalf of this company without my explicit approval. The partnerships are financially sound, Catherine said smoothly, her siren voice trying to calm the room. Each alliance brings significant revenue potential and technological advantages. We're simply executing the strategy we were hired to implement. You were hired to advise, not to command. Dominic's hands were clenched on the back of his chair. Who authorized these partnerships? We have board authority to execute strategic initiatives within our purview, Thomas said, his warlock precision making the corporate doublespeak sound reasonable. These partnerships fall within that authority. Interesting. Sophia entered the room, her voice cutting through the tension. Because I reviewed the contracts you signed on Friday. Nowhere in those agreements does it give you authority to enter into partnerships without CFO and CEO approval. In fact, page 17, section 4, specifically states that all external alliances require executive sign-off. The three brokers exchanged glances. Sarah's demon senses focused on Sophia, clearly trying to detect weakness or lies. We interpreted the authority differently. Then you interpreted wrong. Sophia dropped a stack of printouts on the table. These three partnerships, Vanguard Technologies, Nexus Global, and Prometheus Holdings, want to know what they have in common. They're all controlled by ancient supernatural entities. A vampire, a fey queen, and a demon lord specifically. The Triad. The human board members looked confused, but Dominic's pack members in the room. Marcus serving as head of security, Elena as director of intelligence, tensed immediately. The broker's careful masks slipped, revealing surprise and calculation. Interesting research, Catherine said carefully. But those are legitimate companies with strong financial positions. They're also fronts for supernatural power consolidation. Sophia pulled up additional documents on the boardroom screen. Vanguard has acquired 17 companies in the last 5 years, all of which had supernatural connections. Nexus Global specializes in consulting, which appears to be code for supernatural enforcement. And Prometheus Holdings runs protection rackets across 12 states. These aren't partnerships. They're takeovers disguised as business deals. How did you? Thomas started, then stopped, clearly realizing he was admitting knowledge of the supernatural connections. How did I figure it out? Sophia smiled coldly. Because I'm very good at my job. And because my mate is the alpha of the Northeast Pack, which means I have access to intelligence networks you clearly underestimated. The temperature in the room dropped. The human board members looked thoroughly confused now, but they could sense the shift in power dynamics. Catherine stood slowly, her siren nature pushing against the room's occupants, trying to influence emotions and decisions. Dominic moved faster than human eyes could track, suddenly standing between Catherine and Sophia. Don't. The single word carried alpha command that made even the supernatural brokers flinch. You manipulate anyone in this room, and our agreement is void. We're simply trying to benefit the company, Sarah said, her demon nature making her voice seem reasonable despite the obvious lies. You're trying to bind Thorne Industries to the Triad. Dominic's voice was ice. Make us dependent on their resources, their protection, their influence. Eventually this company, and my pack, would be under their control. You're paranoid, Thomas said, but his magical aura flickered with uncertainty. I'm informed. Dominic gestured to Elena, who pulled up additional intelligence on the screen. Silverfang Alpha provided documentation of the Triad's operations. 23 supernatural factions absorbed in the last decade. 17 packs that resisted and were destroyed. The Triad doesn't do partnerships, they do hostile takeovers. And you three were their advanced scouts, setting up the acquisition. The boardroom fell silent. Finally, Catherine dropped her siren mask entirely, her expression cold and calculating. You were supposed to be easy. A rich Alpha 2 focused on business, to see the larger game. But you brought in a human mate with a brain, and now you've connected with Silverfang. You're becoming more trouble than you're worth. Then leave. Sophia's voice was steady despite her racing heart. Walk away from Thorne Industries. Take your Triad masters and find someone else to manipulate. It's not that simple, Sarah said, her demon nature fully visible now, shadows seeming to cling to her form. We've already made promises to the Triad. They expect results. That sounds like a you problem. Dominic pulled out his phone, pressing a single button. Immediately, security flooded the room. Not just human security, but pack members in tactical gear, all werewolves loyal to their alpha. You have two choices. 1. You honor the contracts you actually signed, operate within legitimate business parameters, and prove your loyalty to Thorne Industries over the Triad. 2. You resign from the board immediately, and we release statements explaining that your tenures were ended due to conflict of interest. The Triad won't accept that, Thomas warned. They don't take rejection well. Then the Triad can meet with me directly. Dominic's eyes flashed fully amber now, his wolf barely contained. I'm not afraid of ancient vampires, fey queens, or demon lords. I've built an empire that rivals their power, and I have resources they can't imagine. If they want war, they'll get one. Catherine studied Dominic carefully, and Sophia could see the supernatural broker's mind working through scenarios and consequences. Finally, she nodded. We'll honor the legitimate contracts. But we need to unwind these partnerships without angering the Triad. Give us 48 hours to negotiate exit terms. 24 hours, Sophia countered. And Elena monitors every communication. We verify that you're actually negotiating exit terms and not planning something worse. The three brokers exchanged glances, then nodded in reluctant agreement. 24 hours. Meeting adjourned, Dominic announced. Everyone out except executive leadership. The human board members fled gratefully, clearly wanting nothing to do with whatever power struggle they'd witnessed. The supernatural brokers left more slowly, exchanging meaningful looks that promised this wasn't over. When the room finally cleared except for Dominic, Sophia, Marcus, and Elena, the tension broke. That was either brilliant or suicidal, Marcus said. We just threatened the three most powerful supernatural beings in North America. We called their bluff, Sophia corrected. The Triad operates through proxies because direct confrontation is messy and expensive. They wanted Thorne Industries as an asset, not an enemy. If we make it clear we're more trouble than we're worth, they'll back off and find easier targets. Unless they decide to make an example of us, Elena warned. Show other supernatural factions what happens when you resist the Triad. Then we make sure we're too valuable to destroy. Dominic turned to Sophia. You said I had resources they can't imagine. What did you mean? Sophia pulled up files she'd been compiling all weekend. The quantum technology from Meridian. It's not just about security systems or tracking supernatural beings. It can predict patterns, model complex scenarios, even simulate magical interactions. If we weaponize it, we have something the Triad desperately wants to keep out of hostile hands. You want to threaten them with exposure, Marcus realized. Make them understand that if they come after us, we release technology that could reveal the supernatural world. Mutually assured destruction. Cold War tactics. Sophia nodded. The Triad has spent centuries building power in secret. They won't risk exposure, no matter how much they want control of Thorne Industries. Dominic pulled Sophia against him, his arms wrapping around her waist. You're terrifying. You know that. I'm strategic. There's a difference. When this is over, when we've secured the company and protected the pack, I'm claiming you. Dominic's voice was low, intense. I can't wait any longer, Sophia. Watching you command that boardroom, outsmart supernatural power brokers, stand up to beings who could kill you with a thought. My wolf is demanding I make you mine permanently. Sophia's heart raced, desire and fear warring inside her. We still have 24 hours to survive first. Then survive with me. Be my partner in every way. Dominic's hand cupped her face. I love you, Sophia Chen. I've loved you since you walked into my office and challenged me without fear. Say you'll be mine. The words should have terrified her. Should have sent her running from the intensity, the permanence, the absolute certainty in his voice. Instead, Sophia found herself smiling. I love you too. And yes, I'll be yours. Your mate, your Luna, your partner in conquering the world. She kissed him, pouring every ounce of emotion into it. After we deal with the Triad. After we deal with the Triad, Dominic agreed, though his wolf was howling with triumph. Marcus cleared his throat awkwardly. Congratulations and all, but we still have supernatural power brokers to monitor and exit terms to negotiate. Can you two celebrate later? Elena rolled her eyes. Marcus, they've been dancing around each other for 2 weeks. Let them have their moment. Their moment is going to get us all killed if we don't focus. Sophia pulled away from Dominic reluctantly. Marcus is right. Business first, claiming later. Elena, I need full surveillance on the brokers. Every call, every email, every movement. If they're truly negotiating exit terms, we'll see it. If they're planning something else, we need advance warning. On it. Elena headed for the door. Though for the record, I think you two are perfect for each other. Both workaholics who put business before pleasure. When they were alone, Dominic pulled Sophia back into his arms. 24 hours. Then you're mine and nothing. Not the Triad, not pack politics, not even your overactive strategic mind, will stop me from claiming my mate. Promise, Sophia whispered. Promise. His kiss was sealed with the certainty of an alpha who always kept his word. Chapter 9. 23 hours later, Sophia stood in Dominic's penthouse office reviewing the exit agreements the brokers had negotiated. Against all odds, they appeared legitimate. Catherine, Thomas, and Sarah had successfully unwound the Triad partnerships without triggering supernatural warfare. The three ancient entities had accepted strategic differences as the reason for the partnership dissolutions, taking their money and influence elsewhere. It had worked. The gambit, the threats, the mutually assured destruction strategy. It had actually worked. The contracts are clean, Sophia announced, looking up from the final document. No hidden clauses, no supernatural obligations. The Triad partnerships are officially dissolved. Dominic, Marcus, and Elena, who'd been monitoring the situation from multiple angles, visibly relaxed. They're really letting us go, Marcus said, disbelief coloring his tone. For now, Elena qualified. The Triad doesn't forget slights. They'll watch us wait for weakness. But for today, we won. We did more than win. We established ourselves as a power that can't be easily manipulated. Dominic stood, moving to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. His city, his territory, his empire. The supernatural world will take notice. The Northeast Pack isn't just another faction. We're players with resources and intelligence that rival ancient entities. Which makes us either very powerful or very exposed, Sophia observed. Power attracts attention, and not all of it friendly. Then we'll handle whatever comes. Dominic turned to face her, his eyes full of heat and promise. Together, Marcus and Elena exchanged knowing glances. We'll leave you two alone, Marcus said, practically dragging Elena toward the door. But don't do anything that affects the pack without discussing it first, Elena called back. We have protocols, ceremonies. Out, Dominic commanded, his alpha voice brooking no argument. The door closed, leaving them alone in the penthouse as Manhattan glittered below. Sophia's heart raced, knowing what came next. They'd survived the Triad, secured the company, protected the pack. There were no more obstacles, no more reasons to wait. Sophia. Dominic crossed the space between them in 3 strides, pulling her against him. Are you sure? Once I claim you, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way that matters. Legally, emotionally, supernaturally. The mate bond will tie us together for life. I'm sure. Sophia's hands fisted in his shirt. I've never been more sure of anything. I love you, Dominic Thorne. I choose you. The alpha, the CEO, the man who's fought alone for too long. I choose all of it. The words broke something in Dominic, the last vestiges of his control. He kissed her with desperate hunger, walking her backwards until her back hit the windows overlooking the city. His hands were everywhere, sliding up her sides, tangling in her hair, holding her like she might disappear if he loosened his grip. Sophia matched his intensity, pulling at his tie, unbuttoning his shirt, needing to feel skin against skin. When his mouth moved to her neck, kissing and nipping at the sensitive skin there, she arched into him with a moan. This is going to hurt for just a moment, Dominic warned, his voice rough with need. The claiming bite, it bonds us permanently. You'll feel my emotions, sense when I'm near, carry my mark for the world to see. Tell me again you want this. I want this. I want you. Claim me, Dominic. Make me yours. Dominic's eyes flashed amber, then stayed that color as his wolf surged forward. His teeth elongated slightly. Not a full shift, but enough. He kissed the junction of her neck and shoulder tenderly, then bit down. The pain was sharp but brief, quickly giving way to something else entirely. A rush of sensation that felt like fire and ice, pleasure and power, connection so deep it stole her breath. Sophia could feel Dominic's emotions flooding through her. Overwhelming love, fierce protectiveness, pride, desire, and beneath it all, a bone-deep satisfaction that she was finally, irrevocably his. When he pulled back, licking the wound to seal it with supernatural healing, Sophia was shaking. Not from fear, but from the intensity of the bond now thrumming between them. She could feel him in her mind, her heart, her very soul. Mine, Dominic growled, pulling back to admire his mark on her skin. My mate, my Luna, my everything. Yours, Sophia confirmed, her voice breathless. Now and always. They stood there for a moment, foreheads pressed together, letting the bond settle between them. Then Dominic swept her into his arms, carrying her toward the private bedroom attached to his office. Where are you taking me? Sophia asked, though she knew perfectly well. To bed. I've waited 2 weeks to claim you properly, and now that I have, I'm not letting you go until we've celebrated thoroughly. His smile was pure male satisfaction. Hope you cleared your schedule, mate. We're not leaving this penthouse for at least 24 hours. Sophia laughed, the sound full of joy and anticipation. I'm the CFO. I make the schedule, then make sure we're not disturbed. Because the alpha is claiming his Luna, and nothing is more important than that. He kicked open the bedroom door, and Sophia caught a glimpse of a massive bed before Dominic laid her down gently, covering her body with his. His kiss was slower now, thorough, claiming every inch of her mouth while his hands explored with deliberate intent. I love you, he whispered against her lips. Thank you for choosing me, for staying, for being brave enough to enter a world you didn't know existed and fierce enough to conquer it. I love you too. Sophia pulled him closer, letting the mate bond sing between them. Now show me exactly what it means to be claimed by an alpha. Dominic's answering growl was pure promise. And for the next 24 hours, he did exactly that, claiming his mate with a thoroughness that left no doubt about who she belonged to, even as he surrendered himself just as completely. When they finally emerged from the penthouse 2 days later, responsibilities eventually demanding attention, Sophia wore his mark with pride. Every supernatural being who saw her would know. She was the Luna of the Northeast Pack, mate to one of the most powerful alphas in North America, and partner to a man who would burn the world down to protect her. And she wouldn't have it any other way. Chapter 10. 3 months after the claiming, Sophia stood in the Thorne Tower boardroom for her first official meeting as both CFO and Luna of the Northeast Pack. The room was packed, not just with Thorne Industries board members, but with representatives from 5 other supernatural factions who'd requested meetings with the power couple that had stood up to the Triad. Catherine, Thomas, and Sarah sat at the far end of the table, having proven their loyalty over the past months. The exit from the Triad partnerships had been genuine, and they'd become valuable assets, providing intelligence and supernatural connections while operating within legitimate business parameters. Let's begin, Dominic said, his hand resting casually on Sophia's thigh under the table, a gesture of possession and partnership that made her smile. We have several items on today's agenda. For the next 2 hours, they navigated complex negotiations between corporate interests and supernatural politics. A vampire coven wanted to invest in Thorne Industries' biotech division. A Fae court was interested in partnering on sustainable energy projects. A demon collective wanted access to the quantum technology for purely defensive purposes. Sophia handled it all with the same brilliance she'd brought to Goldman Sachs, but now enhanced with knowledge of supernatural motivations and power structures. She could read the room in ways no human CFO could, sensing deception through the mate bond's heightened awareness and leveraging Dominic's alpha authority when needed. The vampire investment is acceptable with conditions, Sophia announced after reviewing the proposal. 20% equity stake, board observer status, and strict limitations on how the biotech is used. No weaponization, no unauthorized distribution, and full transparency on research applications. The vampire representative, an elegant woman named Isabel who'd been alive for 3 centuries, smiled with approval. Acceptable. Though I'm curious, Luna Chen, how did you know we were planning to weaponize the biotech? Because that's what I would do in your position. Defensive applications become offensive weapons with minor modifications. But Thorne Industries doesn't arm supernatural factions. We provide legitimate business opportunities with built-in safeguards. Sophia's smile was sharp as a blade. Take it or leave it. Isabel laughed, genuine delight crossing her ancient features. I like her, Alpha Thorne. Your mate has teeth. She has more than that, Dominic said proudly. She has vision. The supernatural world has operated in shadows for too long, with outdated power structures and zero accountability. We're building something different, a legitimate bridge between human and supernatural interests that benefits everyone. The Fae representative, a striking man named Oberon, leaned forward with interest. And what happens when humans inevitably discover our world? All the technology, all the carefully maintained secrets. It only takes one mistake, one exposure, and everything collapses. Then we control the narrative, Sophia said. The quantum technology we acquired from Meridian gives us predictive modeling that can forecast supernatural events, track magical anomalies, and anticipate exposure risks. We're developing protocols for graduated disclosure. carefully introducing supernatural concepts to key human leaders, building understanding before full revelation. You're planning to reveal us? A demon representative named Azrael looked alarmed. That's suicide. Staying hidden forever is also suicide, Dominic countered. Technology advances exponentially. 10 years, maybe 20, and humans will have the ability to detect supernatural beings regardless of our precautions. When that happens, we can either be the monsters they've feared for centuries, or we can be partners who've been protecting humanity from worse threats. Marcus stepped forward, pulling up data on the boardroom screens. We've already begun preliminary outreach. 3 senators, 2 tech CEOs, and the director of a major intelligence agency now know about the supernatural world. They've been vetted, slowly educated, and brought into a network we call the Covenant. Humans who understand supernatural existence and work to facilitate peaceful coexistence. Elena added, the Covenant members provide early warning on technological threats, help suppress exposure incidents, and advocate for supernatural-friendly policies without revealing why. It's working. Slowly, carefully, but working. The room fell silent as the various supernatural representatives processed this information. Finally, Isabel spoke. This is either brilliant or catastrophically reckless. But I'm intrigued. Count the vampire covens in. We want a seat at the table when this new world emerges. One by one, the other factions agreed, some enthusiastically, others reluctantly. By the time the meeting concluded, Thorne Industries had secured 5 major supernatural partnerships and expanded the Covenant network by a dozen key human allies. When the room finally cleared, leaving only Dominic, Sophia, Marcus, and Elena, the 4 of them looked at each other in amazement. Did we just start a supernatural human coalition? Marcus asked. We started a revolution, Sophia corrected. And it's going to change everything. Dominic pulled her into his arms, kissing her soundly. 3 months ago, you were a human CFO who didn't know werewolves existed. Now you're negotiating with ancient vampires and planning the gradual revelation of the supernatural world. How do you feel? Sophia considered the question seriously. 3 months of being Luna had taught her the weight of responsibility, the complexity of pack politics, and the delicate balance between human ambition and supernatural instinct. She'd learned to sense pack emotions through her bond with Dominic, to command respect from beings who'd lived for centuries, and to navigate a world that operated by rules she was still learning. But she'd also learned that she was exactly where she belonged. I feel powerful, Sophia said honestly. Like I'm finally using all of my abilities, the business acumen, the strategic thinking, the ability to see patterns others miss. But now I'm applying it to something that actually matters. We're not just building wealth, Dominic. We're building a future where supernatural beings don't have to hide, where humans don't have to fear what they don't understand. That's legacy. That's exactly why you're the perfect Luna. Dominic's voice was full of pride and love. You don't just want power, you want to use it to make the world better. We want to use it, Sophia corrected. This is our vision, our empire, our revolution. Partners in everything, remember? Partners in everything, Dominic agreed, sealing it with a kiss. Marcus cleared his throat. Hate to interrupt, but we have another situation. Silverfang Alpha wants a meeting. Says he has information about a new threat, something called the Obsidian Circle. Elena pulled up intelligence files. The Obsidian Circle is a supernatural extremist group. They oppose any integration with humans, believe in supernatural supremacy, and they've been responsible for at least a dozen attacks on human supernatural cooperation efforts worldwide. Let me guess, Sophia said. They've heard about our covenant and they're not happy. They're planning to make an example of us, Elena confirmed. Silverfang's intelligence suggests an attack within the next 2 weeks. Location unknown, method unknown, but the target is clear, Thorne Industries and the Northeast Pack. Dominic's expression went cold, alpha authority radiating from him. Then we prepare. Increase security on all Thorne properties. Alert the Covenant members. And get me everything we have on the Obsidian Circle. If they want war, we'll give them one they won't survive. There's another option, Sophia said quietly. We could reach out to them. Try to negotiate. Understand their concerns. Not everyone who opposes integration is a terrorist. Some are just scared of change. Sophia, these are extremists who kill anyone who cooperates with humans. They won't negotiate. Maybe not. But we should try. Sophia pulled up additional research she'd been compiling. The Obsidian Circle has been active for 50 years. They emerged in response to supernatural beings being hunted during the McCarthy era. Their fear is rooted in real trauma, real losses. If we can address those fears, show them that integration doesn't mean vulnerability, we might prevent violence instead of just responding to it. Marcus looked skeptical. That's optimistic. That's strategic, Sophia countered. Every enemy we convert to an ally makes us stronger. Every faction we bring into the covenant expands our network. Violence should be our last resort, not our first response. Dominic studied her for a long moment, the mate bond allowing him to feel her conviction, her genuine belief in this approach. Finally, he nodded. We try it your way first. Reach out to the Obsidian Circle, offer a meeting, see if they'll talk. But we prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. That's all I ask, Sophia said. Elena looked impressed. You're really committed to this peace thing, aren't you? I'm committed to building something that lasts, Sophia clarified. You can't build a lasting empire on fear and violence. You build it on relationships, mutual benefit, and shared vision. That's what makes Thorne Industries successful in the human world, and it's what will make our supernatural coalition successful too. She's not wrong, Marcus admitted. The packs who've survived longest are the ones who adapt, who build alliances instead of just fighting. Then we adapt. Dominic's hand found Sophia's, their fingers interlacing. We reach out to the Obsidian Circle, we expand the covenant, and we build the future we want to see. Together. The word hung in the air, together. It encapsulated everything they'd built in 3 months. A partnership that bridged species, a love that defied logic, and an empire that was reshaping both the human and supernatural worlds. Sophia looked out the windows at Manhattan spreading below them. Somewhere in that city, supernatural beings lived in hiding. In boardrooms across the country, humans made decisions that affected species they didn't know existed. And in the space between, Thorne Industries was building bridges, creating connections, and reimagining what was possible. It was ambitious, dangerous, and possibly insane. It was also exactly what Sophia had been searching for her entire life. A challenge worthy of her abilities, a partner worthy of her love, and a purpose worthy of her dedication. What are you thinking? Dominic asked, feeling her emotions through their bond. Sophia smiled, turning to face her mate, her alpha, her partner in conquering the impossible. I'm thinking that 3 months ago, I was a CFO at Goldman Sachs with a 5-year plan and a perfectly predictable future. Now I'm the Luna of a werewolf pack, married to a 93-year-old billionaire who looks 34, negotiating with vampires, and planning to gradually reveal the supernatural world to humanity. Having regrets? Not even a little. Sophia pulled him close, kissing him with all the love and certainty she felt. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With you. Building our empire. Changing the world. Then let's change it, Dominic said. One boardroom, one supernatural faction, one impossible dream at a time. Marcus and Elena exchanged amused glances. You two are disgusting with all the romance, Marcus said, but he was smiling. And you two are going to be just as disgusting when you finally admit you're circling each other, Sophia shot back, making both Marcus and Elena blush and look away. Dominic laughed, the sound rich and genuine. She's got you there. For the rest of the afternoon, they planned security protocols, outreach strategies, expansion plans. But underneath the business discussions, the mate bond hummed with contentment. They'd found each other against impossible odds, built something extraordinary together, and were just getting started. The Obsidian Circle threat would be handled. The covenant would expand. Thorne Industries would continue growing. And through it all, Dominic and Sophia would face every challenge together. Alpha and Luna, CEO and CFO, mates destined to rule both the boardroom and the supernatural world. As the sun set over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Sophia felt nothing but excitement for what came next. The future was uncertain, complicated, and filled with threats both corporate and supernatural. But with Dominic beside her, his hand in hers and his mark on her skin, Sophia knew they could handle anything. After all, they'd already conquered the impossible. Everything else was just details. Chapter 11. The meeting with the Obsidian Circle was set for neutral territory, an abandoned warehouse in Brooklyn that had been magically warded by a neutral witch to prevent violence. Sophia stood beside Dominic, flanked by Marcus and Elena, as 3 figures emerged from the shadows. The leader was a woman who looked to be in her 40s, but carried herself with the confidence of someone much older. Her dark hair was shot through with silver, and her eyes gleamed with intelligence and deep suspicion. Alpha Thorne, Luna Chun. I'm Victoria, voice of the Obsidian Circle. I'll admit, I'm surprised you wanted this meeting. We believe in dialogue before destruction, Sophia said calmly. Your organization has concerns about supernatural human integration. We want to understand them. Victoria's laugh was bitter. Concerns? Try terror. Try knowing that every time humans discover our existence, they hunt us, cage us, experiment on us. The McCarthy era wasn't ancient history for many of us. We watched friends and family captured by government programs that denied our basic rights. And you want to voluntarily reveal ourselves. We want to control how revelation happens, Dominic clarified. Right now, supernatural exposure is a ticking time bomb. Technology is advancing too fast. Soon, humans will discover us whether we want them to or not. When that happens, we can either be the monsters caught in the shadows or partners who've been working alongside humanity all along. Pretty words from an alpha who's built his empire on human money. One of Victoria's companions spit out. He was younger, early 20s in appearance, with the reckless energy of someone who'd seen violence and craved more. You've forgotten what it's like to be hunted. I haven't forgotten anything. Dominic's voice dropped to a growl. I'm 93 years old. I lived through World War II, watched supernatural beings rounded up by both Nazis and allies. I know exactly what humans are capable of. But I also know what we're capable of. We're stronger than they are, but we're outnumbered 7 billion to 1. If we try to fight them openly, we lose. If we hide forever, we eventually get discovered and exterminated. The only path forward is integration, careful, controlled, strategic integration. Victoria studied him carefully. And the Covenant, these humans you've brought into the secret? How do you know they won't betray us? Because they're invested in our survival, Sophia said. Every Covenant member has something to gain from peaceful coexistence. Technological advantages, magical resources, extended lifespans through supernatural medicine. We've made them stakeholders in a supernatural future, not just witnesses to it. You've bribed them, the young extremist sneered. We've given them incentive to protect us, Sophia corrected. That's how alliances work. Mutual benefit, shared interests, aligned goals. It's not perfect, but it's better than living in constant fear of exposure. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, clearly weighing options. The Obsidian Circle has spent 50 years fighting integration. We've built our entire identity around supernatural supremacy and isolation. You're asking us to abandon that. I'm asking you to evolve, Sophia said. The world is changing whether you like it or not. You can change with it and help shape what comes next, or you can fight it and be left behind. Those are your only options. There's a third option, the young extremist said, his hand moving toward a weapon. We eliminate the integration advocates and send a message that the Obsidian Circle won't be ignored. The temperature in the warehouse dropped as both sides tensed for violence. Dominic's eyes flashed amber, his wolf surging forward. Marcus and Elena moved into protective positions around Sophia, their own supernatural natures barely contained. But Victoria raised her hand, stopping her companion. Stand down, Dante. We came here to talk. We came here to intimidate, Dante argued. To show them that the Obsidian Circle won't tolerate. I said stand down. Victoria's voice carried command that made even the reckless young man hesitate. She turned back to Dominic and Sophia. You've made your case. I'll take it back to the Circle's council. But I can't promise they'll accept it. Many of our members have lost too much to humans to trust them now. Then start small, Sophia suggested. Don't commit to full integration. Just agree to not attack the Covenant. Give us a year to prove that controlled revelation can work. If we fail, if humans turn on us, then you can say I told you so, and the Circle's position is vindicated. But if we succeed, you'll have the opportunity to join something revolutionary. A year, Victoria repeated. No attacks on the Covenant, no interference with your integration plans. In exchange for what? Intelligence sharing, Dominic offered. We have resources you don't, corporate connections, government contacts, technological assets. We'll provide early warning on any human threats to the supernatural community. You'll be protected while we prove our model works. Victoria exchanged glances with her companions. Clearly communicating through supernatural means Sophia couldn't detect. Finally, she nodded. 1 year. But if there's a single incident, one supernatural being captured or killed because of your covenant, the Obsidian Circle will respond. And we won't be gentle. Fair enough, Sophia agreed. 1 year to change the world. The Obsidian Circle members faded back into the shadows, leaving Dominic's group alone in the warehouse. Marcus let out a breath he'd been holding. That could have gone worse. It could have gone better, Elena countered. They're agreeing to a ceasefire, not an alliance. And that Dante kid looked ready to start a war single-handedly. Young extremists are always the most dangerous, Dominic said. They have ideology but no wisdom, passion but no perspective. We'll need to watch him. We'll watch all of them, Sophia said. But this is progress. A year ago, the Obsidian Circle wouldn't have agreed to meet at all. Now they're willing to give us a chance to prove our model. That's something. Dominic pulled her close, kissing her forehead. You're an optimist. I'm a realist who believes in progress. Sophia leaned into him, feeling the mate bond settle after the tension of the meeting. Besides, we don't have a choice. The supernatural world is changing whether the Obsidian Circle likes it or not. At least this way, we have a chance to shape how it changes. They left the warehouse and headed back to Manhattan, where the world of corporate deals and board meetings awaited. But Sophia's mind was already planning, strategizing, thinking 3 steps ahead. The Obsidian Circle was one piece of the puzzle. There were still vampire covens, fae courts, demon collectives, and dozens of other supernatural factions to bring into the covenant. It would take years, maybe decades, to build the world she and Dominic envisioned. But Sophia had always been patient when it came to long-term goals. And now she had something she'd never had before. A partner who matched her ambition, shared her vision, and would fight beside her for every inch of progress. What are you thinking? Dominic asked as they drove through Brooklyn. I'm thinking that in 100 years, supernatural human integration will be normal. Kids will grow up knowing about werewolves and vampires the way they know about different countries and cultures. And they'll look back at this moment, this meeting, this decision to try dialogue instead of violence, as the turning point. Sophia smiled. I'm thinking we're making history. We definitely are. Dominic's hand found hers. And I'm glad I'm making it with you. The rest of the drive was quiet, both of them lost in thoughts about the future they were building. When they finally arrived back at Thorne Tower, Margaret was waiting with a stack of messages and a worried expression. Ms. Chun, Mr. Thorne, the SEC is asking questions about the Meridian acquisition, specifically about the 3 board members and their backgrounds. And there are reporters calling about unusual business practices at Thorne Industries. Sophia's stomach sank. Someone leaked information about the supernatural connections. Or the Triad is making their move, Dominic said grimly. They agreed to the partnership dissolution, but that doesn't mean they're happy about it. Exposing our supernatural operations to human regulators would be the perfect revenge. Then we get ahead of it. Sophia's mind raced through options. Margaret, set up a press conference for tomorrow morning. We're going to address the questions directly, spin the narrative our way before someone else does it for us. What are you going to tell them? Marcus asked. You can't reveal the supernatural connections. I'm going to tell them a carefully crafted version of the truth, Sophia said. That Thorne Industries has been consulting with specialists in emerging markets and unconventional resources. That our board members have unique expertise in areas most companies don't understand. That we operate on the cutting edge of innovation, which sometimes looks unusual to traditional analysts. Corporate doublespeak, Elena said approvingly. Technically true, but vague enough to not reveal anything concrete. Exactly. And while everyone's focused on the press conference and the SEC questions, we continue building the covenant, expanding our supernatural alliances, and preparing for gradual revelation. Sophia looked at Dominic. We knew this wouldn't be easy. There will always be obstacles, threats, people trying to tear down what we're building. But we keep going. Dominic pulled her into his arms right there in the office, uncaring that Margaret and half the executive floor could see. I love you. Have I mentioned that recently? Not in the last hour, Sophia teased. You're slacking. Then let me make up for it. His kiss was thorough, possessive, full of the love and pride that flowed constantly through their mate bond. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were warm. Whatever comes next, we handle it together. Corporate investigations, supernatural extremists, ancient entities who want to destroy us. Bring it on. As long as I have you beside me, I can face anything. Good thing you're stuck with me for life then, Sophia said. The claiming is permanent, remember? Best decision I ever made. Dominic kissed her again, softer this time. Now let's go prepare for that press conference. Time to show the world, human and supernatural, that Thorne Industries isn't going anywhere. They worked through the night, crafting statements, anticipating questions, building a narrative that protected their secrets while addressing legitimate concerns. By dawn, they had a strategy that would satisfy the SEC without revealing anything truly damaging. And as the sun rose over Manhattan, casting golden light across their empire, Sophia felt nothing but confidence. They'd faced down the Triad, negotiated with the Obsidian Circle, and built a coalition that spanned species. A corporate investigation was just another challenge to overcome. After all, when you're planning to change the world, you learn to expect resistance. The key is not letting it stop you. Chapter 12. 6 months after the SEC investigation concluded with no findings of wrongdoing, Sophia stood in the grand ballroom of the Thorne estate, watching werewolves, vampires, fae, demons, and humans mingle at the first official Covenant summit. It was historic. 23 supernatural factions and 47 human leaders gathered under one roof, discussing the future of integrated society. The press conference had worked. The SEC had found Thorne Industries' unusual practices to be innovative rather than illegal, and the subsequent publicity had actually increased investor confidence. The company's stock had soared, making Dominic's net worth climb to $10 billion. More importantly, the incident had proven their coalition could withstand scrutiny. "You look pleased with yourself," Dominic said, appearing at her side with 2 glasses of champagne. He wore a tuxedo that made him devastatingly handsome, though Sophia preferred him in the casual clothes he wore at the Pack estate. Still, tonight was about appearances, about showing the world that supernatural human cooperation was not only possible but profitable. "I'm pleased with us," Sophia corrected, taking the champagne. "A year ago, I didn't know werewolves existed. Now I'm hosting a summit that's literally changing the course of history. It's been quite a year. The best year of my 94 years, Dominic agreed. His hand rested on her lower back, a gesture of affection and possession that never failed to make her smile. Through their mate bond, she could feel his contentment, his pride in what they'd built together. Across the room, Catherine Wells was deep in conversation with Senator Morrison, one of their key Covenant members. Thomas Crane was demonstrating something magical to a group of fascinated tech CEOs. Sarah Martinez was explaining demon contract law to a corporate lawyer who looked equal parts terrified and intrigued. The 3 supernatural brokers had become invaluable allies, using their connections to facilitate introductions and smooth over cultural misunderstandings between species. They'd proven that former enemies could become partners when given the right incentives and framework. Alpha Thorne Luna Chun. Victoria from the Obsidian Circle approached, looking uncomfortable and formal, but determined. "I wanted to tell you that the Circle's council has voted. We're officially joining the Covenant. Not all members are happy about it, but the majority see the value in what you're building." Sophia's heart soared with triumph. The Obsidian Circle's support was the final piece they'd needed. With even the extremist faction on board, they could move forward with broader revelation plans. "That's wonderful news, Victoria. Thank you for trusting us." "Don't make me regret it," Victoria warned, but her tone was warmer than it had been at their first meeting. "And for what it's worth, I'm glad I was wrong about you too. Integration might actually work." "It will work," Dominic said with alpha certainty. "Because we're not forcing it, we're facilitating it. Giving people choices, building understanding, creating systems where both humans and supernatural beings benefit. That's sustainable." Victoria nodded and moved on, leaving them alone again. Sophia leaned into Dominic, feeling the strength of him, the unwavering support that had made all of this possible. "What do you think your father would say about all this? About a werewolf alpha building bridges with humans instead of hiding from them?" Dominic was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. He lived in a different time, when survival meant isolation. "I think he'd be proud that I found a way to not just survive, but thrive. And I know he'd love you, the brilliant human who became Luna and transformed not just our pack, but the entire supernatural world." "We transformed it together," Sophia insisted. "I couldn't have done any of this without your resources, your authority, your absolute belief that we could build something better." "Partnership," Dominic said, pulling her onto the dance floor as music filled the ballroom. That's what makes us unstoppable. You bring the vision and strategy, I bring the power and resources. Together, we're remaking the world. They danced as the summit continued around them. Humans and supernatural beings learning to coexist, former enemies becoming allies, a new world being born from careful planning and audacious hope. It wasn't perfect. There would be setbacks, resistance, moments when the whole enterprise seemed doomed to fail. But Sophia had learned something crucial in her year as Luna. The impossible just takes longer. I have something for you, Dominic said as the song ended, pulling a small box from his pocket. I know we're already mated, already bound in every way that matters to my world. But I want to honor your world too. He opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. Emerald cut, surrounded by smaller stones that caught the light like captured stars. Sophia Chen, will you marry me? Human ceremony, human traditions, legal recognition in the world you came from. I want everyone to know you're mine in every possible way. Tears pricked Sophia's eyes. They were already mated, already committed for life through supernatural bonds that went deeper than any human marriage. But the gesture was pure Dominic, honoring both sides of their life together, building bridges even in their personal relationship. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Though technically we should have done this before the whole claiming thing. We do everything backwards, Dominic said, sliding the ring onto her finger. Why start being conventional now? The kiss that followed was witnessed by 200 summit attendees, who burst into applause. Human and supernatural alike celebrated the Alpha and Luna whose love had sparked a revolution, whose partnership had made the impossible real. When they finally broke apart, breathless and grinning, Sophia looked around the ballroom at the world they'd created. Vampire and human discussing business ventures. Fae and tech CEO exploring magical technological hybrid solutions. Werewolves and government officials establishing protocols for supernatural law enforcement cooperation. It was messy, complicated, and absolutely unprecedented. It was also the future. A future where supernatural beings didn't have to hide, where humans didn't have to fear what they didn't understand, where cooperation replaced conflict. What are you thinking? Dominic asked, feeling her emotions through their bond. Sophia smiled, pulling him close. I'm thinking that a year ago, I wanted to change the world through finance and business innovation. Now I'm changing it by building bridges between species, revealing hidden worlds, and rewriting the rules of existence itself. And I'm doing it all with the love of my life beside me. Best career change ever? Dominic teased. Best everything ever, Sophia confirmed. Though I do miss the simplicity of hostile corporate takeovers. Those were easy compared to supernatural coalition building. Dominic laughed, the sound rich with joy. Should I be worried that you find supernatural politics more challenging than Goldman Sachs? You should be impressed that I'm thriving at it. Sophia kissed him softly. Now come on, Alpha. We have a summit to run, a world to change, and an empire to build. The future's not going to create itself. After you, Luna. Always. They walked back into the crowd together, hand in hand, mates and partners in every sense. Behind them stretched a year of impossible achievements. Ahead lay challenges neither could fully predict. Resistance to integration, threats from supernatural factions who refused to adapt, the logistical nightmare of gradual revelation to 7 billion humans. But Sophia had learned that the impossible was just another item on her to-do list. And with Dominic beside her, brilliant, powerful, absolutely devoted, there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. The billion-dollar wolf and his Luna were just getting started. And the world, both human and supernatural, would never be the same. 5 years later, Sophia stood on the stage of the United Nations, facing an audience that included heads of state, corporate leaders, and, though only she and a select few knew it, representatives from every major supernatural faction on Earth. Her hand rested unconsciously on her rounded belly, 6 months pregnant with their first child. A daughter, according to the Pax healer. A future Luna who would be born into a world very different from the one Sophia had entered 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Sophia said into the microphone, her voice carrying across the assembly hall. Thorne Industries made a commitment to innovative partnerships that challenged conventional wisdom. Today, I'm here to announce the next phase of that innovation. Dominic watched from the wings, his pride in his mate flooding through their bond. She'd come so far from the Goldman Sachs VP who'd walked into his office. Now she commanded rooms full of world leaders, negotiated treaties between species, and managed the delicate balance of two worlds merging. The Covenant Initiative, Sophia continued, brings together diverse perspectives to solve global challenges. Clean energy, disease eradication, technological advancement. These goals require thinking beyond traditional boundaries. And I'm pleased to announce that 53 nations have now joined the Covenant, committing to collaborative innovation that benefits all humanity. What the human nations didn't fully understand was that diverse perspectives included supernatural input, that the medical breakthroughs came from centuries of vampire research into blood diseases, that the clean energy solutions incorporated fey magic and demon technology, that werewolf-enhanced senses had detected early signs of climate patterns that human satellites missed. The gradual revelation was working exactly as planned. Humans were slowly, carefully being introduced to supernatural concepts, always framed as cutting-edge science or unconventional innovation, never as magic or species differences. In another 10 years, maybe 15, full disclosure would seem natural rather than shocking. After the speech, after the photo ops and press conferences, Sophia finally made it back to their hotel suite where Dominic was waiting. He pulled her into his arms carefully, mindful of her pregnancy. "You were perfect," he said, kissing her thoroughly. "Commanding, brilliant, absolutely in control. Very attractive on a woman carrying my child. Your daughter," Sophia corrected, "who's apparently inherited your inability to let me sleep through the night. She kicks like a tiny werewolf. She'll be strong. Like her mother." Dominic's hand rested on Sophia's belly, and they both felt the flutter of movement. Strong enough to lead this new world we're building. Sophia leaned against him, tired but content. 5 years of work had transformed the supernatural community. The Northeast Pack had tripled in size as lone wolves sought the security of Dominic's leadership. Thorne Industries was now worth $18 billion, with supernatural human partnerships generating unprecedented innovation. The Covenant had grown from a handful of trusted humans to a global network that spanned governments, corporations, and supernatural factions. And through it all, Sophia and Dominic had built something even more precious. A love that spanned species, a partnership that balanced power, and a family that represented everything they'd been fighting for. "I love you," Sophia said softly. "Thank you for walking into that interview and changing my entire life." "Thank you for being brave enough to stay," Dominic countered. "For choosing the extraordinary over the safe. For becoming Luna and transforming not just my life, but the entire world." They stood there together, looking out at the New York skyline, their city, their territory, their empire. Somewhere below, supernatural beings lived openly in certain communities, protected by covenant agreements. Humans who knew the truth worked alongside them, building the future one careful step at a time. It wasn't perfect. There were still extremists on both sides who opposed integration. Still threats from ancient entities who preferred the old ways. Still 1,000 complications that arose when merging two worlds. But Sophia had learned that perfection wasn't the goal. Progress was. And they were making progress every single day. "Ready to go home?" Dominic asked. "The pack wants to celebrate the UN speech. Marcus is cooking, Elena planned some ridiculous party, and half the Covenant members are flying in to join us." "Home," Sophia agreed. "To the pack, to family, to the life we've built together." They left the hotel and headed north, toward the estate where it had all began, where Dominic had first shown Sophia his world, where she'd met the pack and chosen to become Luna, where their daughter would be born in a few months, the first child of their union and symbol of everything they'd accomplished. As they drove through the darkness toward home, Sophia's hand found Dominic's, their fingers interlacing with practiced ease. The mate bond hummed between them, content, satisfied, absolutely certain. They'd started with a job interview, an impossible attraction. They'd built an empire that spanned two worlds. And they'd fallen in love in a way that transcended species, logic, and every rational reason why it shouldn't work. The billion-dollar wolf and his brilliant Luna. Alpha and CFO. Mates and partners in every sense of the word. Together, they'd conquered the boardroom and the supernatural world. Together, they were raising the next generation of leaders. Together, they were building a future where love, ambition, and extraordinary dreams could coexist. And as the estate came into view, lights blazing with pack warmth and celebration, Sophia knew beyond any doubt. This was exactly where she belonged. in business and in the pack. I promise you honesty, loyalty, and a love that spans lifetimes. All I ask is that you give us a chance." Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was too fast, too intense, too impossible. But her heart, her instincts, everything that made her who she was recognized the truth in his words. "I want that," she admitted. "All of it. The partnership, the passion, the extraordinary life. But I'm scared, Dominic. Scared of losing myself in your world. Scared that the mate bond will override my choices. Then we go slow. We build this together, one choice at a time." Dominic pressed his forehead to hers. "The mate bond creates the pull, but we decide what we make of it. You'll never lose yourself, Sophia. You're too strong, too brilliant for that. And I don't want a submissive mate who just agrees with everything I say. I want you fierce, challenging, absolutely unstoppable." Sophia laughed, the sound breaking the tension. "You say that now. Wait until I'm arguing with you in a board meeting. I'm counting on it." Dominic kissed her softly, sweetly, so different from their previous heated encounters. "Stay tonight. Not for claiming. Not for anything physical beyond what we both want. Just stay. Meet the pack as humans. See what your life could look like here." Sophia knew she should say no. Should maintain boundaries, keep some distance. Instead, she found herself nodding. "Okay, I'll stay." The smile that broke across Dominic's face was pure joy, unguarded and beautiful. He stood,